Chapter 702. Chapter 702. Thank you for your understanding, Lord Dragon God. The two old men cupped their hands at Wuxia and walked out. Blood Arrow Snow Demon, 10 years ago, you raised Gu with tens of millions of people. Now, you want to raise Gu with 2 million people. Cruel people like you deserve to die. The two old men walked out of Wuxia's encirclement. They turned their heads with cold eyes and flew into the distance without any reluctance. We will not continue to accompany you in your madness. You two traitors. The Snow Demon and Blood Arrow looked at the two figures who flew away without any hesitation and roared with a ferocious expression. The two immortals on their side actually ran away. They fled right before the battle. Moreover, before they left, they even said that they deserved to die. This caused the Snow Demon and Blood Arrow to almost vomit blood. They stared at the rapidly disappearing figure with a ferocious and violent expression. Hee hee. Wuxia let out a chuckle. It's just the two of you now. I'd like to see how the two of you are going to escape. The blood-red eyes of the Snow Demon and Blood Arrow stared at Wuxia as their bodies trembled violently. The two of them were fighting against 6 immortal gods, although their strength had already reached the level of a god. However, the experts of the Dragon Palace immortal gods could not be described with common sense. Under normal circumstances, a god could suppress 4 inferior gods. However, it was already considered good that they could suppress 2 Dragon Palace immortals. 3 immortals could suppress or even kill them. Furthermore, Wuxia's strength was comparable to a god. Now I'm going to take your lives. This is the consequence of your sneak attack on us. Kill? Wuxia roared. His divine dragon body moved and attacked the Snow Demon directly. Aochitin followed closely behind Wuxia and attacked the Snow Demon. Prime Minister Gue Aojian and Aochi moved and instantly rushed towards the Blood Arrow. As for Ao Demon, he had already disappeared into the air. No one knew where he was. He would launch a fatal attack at the most suitable moment. Run. Run. We have to run. Lord Wind Demon and the others have escaped as well. Lord Snow Demon and Lord Blood Arrow are finished. We have to run away from here. We have to run away from the cauldron of you. We have to go somewhere else. We have to go to the Jianghu. Below, when the disciples of the Jade Hand Immortal Sect and Corpse Chief Dao saw the two old men leave, they were completely devastated. 6 immortals came to kill their sect leader of the Snow Demon Blood Arrow sect while the other 2 immortals ran away. The consequences of their sect leader's actions could be imagined. All the immortals of the immortal sect were either dead or running away. All the experts of the immortal sect were also killed. Why were they still here if they were not going to run away? In an instant, more than 2 million disciples of the Jade Hand Immortal Sect and the Snow Demon Immortal Sect were running away frantically like ants. Even if I have to die, I will not let you have it easy. The Snow Demon's face revealed a violent expression. Her snow-white arms turned pitch black instantly. She waved her arms and terrifying demonic chi arms attacked Wuxia like ghostly hands. Wuxia waved his dragon claws. Water energy condensed into dragon claws, and thousands of dragon claws attacked instantly. Roar, take this. Aochitian's 10-meter-long ocean-pacifying divine needle smashed heavily at the Snow Demon. The Snow Demon's expression changed drastically, and he immediately felt a strong pressure. What made him even more terrified was that the Snow-White Demon had disappeared into the air, and he did not know where it was. He had to guard against the sudden attack of the White Demon. This made him afraid to release all of his power, and he vigilantly sensed his surroundings. Meanwhile, Blood Arrow, who was at the side, was even more terrified. He specialized in demonic arrows, and the demonic arrow in his hand had once pierced through an immortal god. It was incomparably terrifying. What made him terrified was whether it was the old man holding the turtle shell that easily blocked his demonic arrow, or that terrifying golden color that was sharp and golden, or that lightning creature that caused one's scalp to go numb. Piercing the heart, devouring the god, killing the immortal. Blood Arrow roared and pulled his arm. The blood-colored longbow in his hand instantly shot out 3 arrow feathers that emitted a terrifying demonic aura. Lightning Spear. Aochi waved his left hand. His entire arm was instantly covered in lightning, emitting a terrifying explosion sound. The 3 lightning spears directly met the 3 black arrow feathers. Crack, 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 crack. The lightning spears directly pierced through the 3 arrow feathers. The pitch-black arrow feathers actually dimmed at a terrifying speed. In the end, although it didn't melt, the attack power on it couldn't even kill an infant-stage cultivator. Lightning Hammer. Aochi's lightning hammer pointed in the air, and bolts of lightning struck out. What powerful lightning control! Prime Minister Gue and Ao Jian revealed a trace of shock on their faces, and they didn't stop what they were doing. Under his control, the 100-meter-tall mountain directly flew into the air and smashed towards the blood arrow. Ao Jian's body moved for a moment. In an instant, numerous metal swords appeared around him. The metal swords were silent and extremely terrifying. In an instant, the blood arrow was suppressed everywhere. Water ripple of the great waterfall. Sea chaos. At this moment, Wang Xian and Ao Qitian's roars came from the side. The water of the great waterfall rippled and enveloped the area within a radius of 10 kilometers. The snow demon was instantly covered. However, the terrifying demonic aura supported the space of 1,000 meters. However, Ao Qitian was holding the ocean-pacifying needle in his hand, which was used to stabilize the sea. Similarly, there was another terrifying effect, which was the cholera of the sea water. With a wave of the ocean-pacifying needle, the water of the great waterfall rippled violently in one direction. In an instant, Wang Xian's great waterfall was actually able to work together with Ao Qitian. The ocean-pacifying needle attacked the snow demon. With the terrifying power of the seawater, it was as if the entire ocean was being brought down with it. In an instant, the terrifying power caused the snow demon to retreat a few thousand meters. It could not help but spit out blood. Whoosh! However, at this moment the snow demon felt a great sense of terror. He dodged to the side in fear. Puchi! He actually managed to dodge his vital parts. Wang Xian looked over and was slightly stunned. However, he smiled immediately after. One of the snow demon's arms was severed. Scram! Die! The snow demon used all of his strength in grief and indignation and attacked the Ao demon. The white light pointed at the void and the Ao Yao disappeared into thin air. The snow demon was stunned for a moment. It felt a sense of collapse and despair. Take this. Ao Qitian roared again. Wang Xian waved his dragon claw and the water energy was attached to the ocean-pacifying divine needle. The energy of the entire waterfall was attached to it. A force that could make immortals tremble smashed towards the snow demon. The only remaining arm of the snow demon was placed in front of him, emitting a black light. Its eyes were filled with despair and fear. Boom! The terrifying power smashed down, and his body was smashed into the island at a terrifying speed, sinking into a depth of 100 meters. He widened his eyes, which were filled with regret. Chapter 703. Chapter 703. I'm not reconciled. If I had known, I would have killed all of you even if I was seriously injured. Mournful voices came from the sky above the island. They're dead, they're dead. Lord Snow Monster and Lord Blood Arrow are both dead. Under the siege of 6 immortal gods, the 2 lords cannot escape at all. The enemies they provoked are too terrifying. Let's leave as well. Let's leave this place as soon as possible. When the sorrowful and indignant voice resonated, the faces of the 2 million people who were escaping below were filled with fear. They turned around and took a glance before continuing to flee. Humph! Wang Xian snorted coldly at them. With a wave of his arm, he threw the snow demon and blood arrow, the 2 celestials who were on the verge of death, onto the ground and stared at them coldly. Courting death. With a wave of his arm, 2 water swords pierced through his head. The 2 interspatial rings flew into Wang Xian's hands. He opened them and looked at them with a satisfied expression on his face. The 2 interspatial rings were much bigger than the ones he had on his hands. There were many metal materials in the space with a radius of 2,000 meters. Apart from that, there were 4 to 5 grade 8 spiritual herbs. Grade 8 spiritual herbs were very useful to demigods. In addition, there were 6 grade 13 spiritual weapons in their interspatial rings. 2 spiritual swords with water energy, 3 staffs and 1 armor. Jade Hand Immortal Sex Combat Technique, Corpse Chief Sex Combat Technique. Wang Xian looked at the 2 pitch-black books and the combat techniques projection. His eyes revealed a hint of surprise. These battle techniques could allow the demon monkey to train for a while. To the members of the Dragon Palace, they would be of great use. Put the 2 corpses away. This immortal god has treasures all over his body. A smile appeared on Wang Xian's face. The level 13 materials were already more than 10 tons. Most of the treasures in the entire Dingyu world might be among the two of them. Wang Xian raised his head and looked at the star guide disk in the sky. His body moved and came to the side of the star guide disk. Star guide disk extraordinaire. Function: set up a training ground in the starry sky. Consumable item: can be used 0 times. When Wang Xian saw the information of the star guide disk, he was stunned. What's going on? The level has actually become extraordinaire. What is extraordinaire? Wang Xian's face was filled with astonishment. Extraordinary. This was the first time he had heard of such a level. Extraordinary. Could it be the realm of immortals? It's even higher than the realm of immortals? That's not right. With my current strength, I haven't even completed the first transformation of the Divine Dragon transformation. The level of immortals is merely the title of Earth's martial artists. In terms of the cultivation level in the universe, there might be another title. As for transcendence, it is very likely to be the title of the existence after the celestial being. Wang Xian guessed in his heart. Currently, although his realm was called the celestial being, he knew that compared to the legendary immortal beings, they could not be called gods. The lifespan of the celestial beings on Earth was less than 500 years. Forget it, let's not think about it. This transcendence realm is obviously not the division of realms on Earth. Wang Xian shook his head and stopped thinking about this distant problem. Search for any treasures in the mountain peak and take them all. Wang Xian stretched out his hand and took the star guiding disc in his hand. The star guiding disc had already been activated. It would only dissipate automatically after it was used up. Dragon King, there are some spiritual herbs in the herb garden. I plan to take the entire herb garden with me. Other than the herb garden, we found a large number of corpses inside. Many of them were the corpses of infant stage powerhouses. They were used to refine puppets. These can be used as nutrients for the dragon pond. Prime Minister Gui's voice came from below. Alright, take them all away. Let's go back. Wang Xian held the star ushers and said to them. It's the Dragon King. Prime Minister Gui nodded. With a wave of his arm, a medicinal garden with a radius of 2 kilometers flew into the air and was supported by his earthy yellow energy. Let's go. The group of people moved and flew towards the Dragon Palace at a terrifying speed. At this point, the world of the Cauldron of You disappeared from the world as soon as it appeared. In the future, the martial arts world would become the legend of the world without the Cauldron of You. The Cauldron of You was destined to become the only world in the 9 Cauldrons world where the immortal god was destroyed, top-notch experts were killed, and a group of immortal sect disciples escaped. A terrifying world expert had disappeared. What replaced it was the even more powerful Dragon Palace. Voila! When Wang Xian came to the surroundings of the Dragon Palace, he looked around with a face full of astonishment. Around him, a terrifying koan that was about 80 meters long was slowly wandering in the sky. Other than this terrifying koan, there were all kinds of aquatic creatures that were cultivating around the Dragon Palace. The turtles that were standing upright in the water had eyes that were filled with wisdom. They were holding a book in their hands as they explained to the surrounding aquatic creatures. Those aquatic creatures that had gained wisdom, especially those that looked like 5 or 6-year-old children, were respectfully listening to the teachings of these turtles. 1. Wang Xian swept his gaze over and discovered that the strength of many aquatic creatures had already reached the level of a martial artist of level 7 or 8. This surprised him slightly. Dragon King, the spiritual energy waterfall this time has greatly increased the strength of many aquatic creatures. It has also allowed more than 200 aquatic creatures to pass through the Dragon Gate. Prime Minister Gui looked at the situation around him and said to him with a smile. Okay. Wang Xian nodded his head and entered the Dragon Palace. Some of the members of the Dragon Palace were learning some knowledge while others were cultivating. The entire Dragon Palace was in good order. Let's place the star guiding disc at the top of the Dragon Palace first. The cultivation speed in the Dragon Palace should be able to increase tremendously. Wang Xian moved his body and arrived at the top of the ocean pacifying needle. He placed the star guiding disc on it. In an instant, the star guiding disc covered an area of 5 kilometers. The dense spiritual energy instantly caused streams of white spiritual energy to appear in the entire Dragon Palace. The energy of the star guiding disc can actually stack with the spiritual energy of the Dragon Palace. In other words, the spiritual energy in the Dragon Palace is about 20 times more than the spiritual energy in the outside world. Wang Xian's eyes revealed a hint of heat. Ring ring ring. Suddenly, the sound of a zither from the soul entered his ears. He was slightly stunned and looked towards the location of the Dragon King's bedroom. His heart skipped a beat as he sensed the situation inside. A smile appeared on his face. It's true. I didn't realize that I was here. Wang Xian moved his body and came to the bedroom. He said with slight dissatisfaction. Sure. However, what he didn't expect was that Xiao Yu and Lan Qingyue glared at him when they heard his voice. They sat quietly on the bed and looked at Tang Yinshen, who was playing the zither. Wang Xian wasn't in the mood to listen to the zither. He wanted to check on the development of the Dragon Palace and flew out of the bedroom. As he felt the majestic spiritual energy in the Dragon Palace, Wang Xian decided that no matter how the outside world changed, he would cultivate in the Dragon Palace for a year first. Chapter 704. Chapter 704, The Great Change in World. Ring ring ring. Wang Xian, who was standing in the middle of the Dragon Palace, scanned his surroundings. Suddenly he heard a beautiful voice. This voice was transmitted directly to the depths of his heart, causing him to feel an involuntary sense of happiness. Wang Xian was slightly stunned. He stood there and listened to the voice slowly. Suddenly, he felt as though his mind had been brought into it. Wang Xian was alert and immediately came out from this state. What is this? How can it infect a person's mind so easily? Wang Xian had a look of astonishment on his face. At this moment, he realized that they were in front of a mountain peak not far away. Hundreds of dolphins were lying there and making the same sound in their bodies at the same time. Although it was not as amusing as the sound that came from the Dragon King's palace, the sound could still stir up people's emotions. Dragon King, this is the special energy of Miss Tang Yinshen and the dolphins. They are able to attack with their voices, and they are also able to stir up emotions with their voices. It's a very powerful technique. At this moment, Prime Minister Gue came to Wang Xian's side and explained to him. No wonder. Wang Xian nodded his head. No wonder Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue, and the rest weren't excited or happy when he entered. Instead, they asked him not to speak. He shook his head speechlessly. The energy of these dolphins has a very good effect. The water tribe cannot calm down. After hearing the sounds of the dolphins, they can enter the training quickly. Miss Tang Yinshen can even guide them to cultivate with her voice. Prime Minister Gue continued. It's so magical? Wang Xian was astonished. Yes, Dragon King. Miss Tang Yinshen saved our lives. Now, she is of great use to the development of the water tribe of the Dragon Palace. I suggest that you leave her in the Dragon Palace. Prime Minister Gue suggested. All right. Wang Xian nodded. Go and organize the water tribe for a second sermon. Also, the effect of the star induction plate can only last for a year. Let all the members of the Dragon Palace cultivate in seclusion for a year. It's the Dragon King. Prime Minister Gui nodded and went to organize the sermon immediately. Wang Xian moved and came to the bedroom of the Dragon Palace. When he saw the 6 girls who were chattering, he smiled. Brother. Xiao Yu walked over and hugged his shoulder with a smile. You're awake. Thank you for your reminder last time. Wang Xian patted Xiao Yu's head and looked at Tang Yinshen. No need. Tang Yinshen smiled faintly. Have you settled everything? Lan Qingyue walked to Wang Xian's side and asked him. Everything is settled. I obtained a treasure outside and I'm cultivating in the Dragon Palace. The effect is only slightly worse than the spiritual energy waterfall. It can last for a year. If you guys don't take care of things, I'm prepared to cultivate in seclusion in the Dragon Palace for a year. Wang Xian said to them. Cultivate in seclusion for a year? Lan Qingyue and the rest nodded slowly. Sure, Xiao Xian. Great changes are happening in the Huaxiao world now. The arrival of the 9 Cauldrons world will have a huge impact on the real world. It will probably be chaotic for a period of time. It has nothing to do with us anyway. Let's just focus on our cultivation. Wang Xian smiled and went to the dragon throne with Lan Qingyue and the rest. He looked at Guan Shuqing, who was still unconscious. Xiao Xian Yinshen said that there might be some problems with Shuqing's soul. Her soul is too weak to support her when she wakes up. We can find some spiritual herbs and elixirs that can strengthen her soul to help her wake up quickly. Another option is to wait for a long time and see if her soul can repair and grow on its own. Sun Lingxiu looked at Guan Shuqing's body and said to Wang Xian. Yes, we'll wait for another year. If she doesn't wake up in a year, we'll bring her to seek medical treatment. Wang Xian nodded slowly. All right, we'll cultivate here. I don't know if we'll be able to step into the immortal realm in a year's time. Lan Qingyue and the rest said with a smile. I'll organize a sermon soon. I'll start cultivating after the sermon. Wang Xian said. After resting for half a day in the Dragon Palace, Prime Minister Gue informed Wang Xian that all the Water Tribe members had arrived. Wang Xian walked out of the bedroom and scanned his surroundings. He looked at the billions of Water Tribe members. Compared to the last time, these Water Tribe members seemed to be more agile, powerful, and ferocious. They exuded a spirituality. However, when they saw Wang Xian coming out, all of them were extremely docile in an instant. They looked at him in the sky devoutly. Wang Xian transformed into a divine dragon and began his second sermon. The cultivation method and cultivation technique entered the minds of billions of Water Tribe members directly. At the location of the Dragon King's palace, 6 girls were looking at his figure with admiration. The sermon lasted for 2 hours. After that, Wang Xian returned to the Dragon Palace and began his closed-door cultivation. Lan Qingyue, Xiaoyu, and the rest of the girls also began their closed-door cultivation. A heaven-defying cultivation supporting treasure like the star-guiding disc could not be wasted. The entire Dragon Palace fell into silence. In the Dragon King's palace, Wang Xian and the 6 beauties were cultivating. In other places, all the members of the Dragon Palace were cultivating. Even Prime Minister Gue and Ao Jian. The 9 Hui were entrenched in the Dragon Cave. With the help of the star-guiding disc, they might be able to advance to level 13 in 1 to 2 years. At that time, the Dragon Palace would have 9 more immortals. Even in the world of the 9 cauldrons, they would be able to occupy a place. In addition, the matter of stealing the dragon vein had been arranged before they went into closed-door cultivation. Time passed slowly and the whole world underwent great changes. 2 months later, the 9 cauldrons world appeared, and countless warriors of the 9 cauldrons world entered the Jianghu. The immortal sects ruled the world, and the 20 immortal sects stood on top of the Jianghu, raising the power of the Jianghu to a terrifying level. The Jianghu was in constant strife, and there was a battle between the immortal sects and the immortal sections. The collision between geniuses and geniuses. The impact between the real world and the 9 cauldrons world. The combination of martial arts and reality. Everything was going on, and even the battle between the immortals and gods had broken out. The sky and earth were dark and the sun and moon were dim. All of this had nothing to do with the Dragon Palace, which was far away from the conflict. Time passed very quickly. There was no sun or moon in cultivation. A year passed in the blink of an eye. Brother, are we going out? A year later, when the energy of the star ushers dissipated, Xiaoyu hugged Wang Xian's arm excitedly and asked. It's time to go out and take a look. Qingyue, Lingxiu, Yinshen, Qinglan, are you guys going out? Qinglan was Elder Fan's name. His original name was Fan Qinglan. It's time to go home and take a look. Lan Qingyue and the rest nodded their heads. All right, let's go then. Wang Xian smiled and looked to the side. Ao Yao. I'm here. Ao Yao's figure instantly left the Dragon King's palace. Call 16 infant stage strange demons to follow me out. You follow me out too. It's the Dragon King. Ao Yao nodded. Devil Azure Dragon. 1, I'm here. Call all the members of the Dragon Gate. Let's go out. It's the Dragon King. Chapter 705. Chapter 705. After a year of closed-door cultivation in the Dragon Palace, the strength of all the members of the Dragon Palace had undergone a tremendous change. Now, apart from the members who had just entered the Dragon Palace, the rest of the Demon Monkey Clan, Yuxia Clan, Golden Swordfish Clan, Strange Prawn Clan, and Strange Demon Clan had the lowest cultivation base at the Dan stage. The Demonic Monkey Clan had 90 Infant Realm Experts, Yuxia Clan, 80 Infant Realm Experts, Golden Swordfish Clan, 70 Infant Realm Experts, and 65 Infant Realm Experts from Strange Prawn Clan. All of the Strange Demon Clan had reached the Infant Realm. Moreover, 15 of them had already reached the half-step Immortal God Realm. Ao Prawn and Ao Nu were also at the half-step Immortal God Realm. Currently, there were more than 480 Infant Realm Experts and 21 half-step Immortal God Realm Experts in the Dragon Palace. The only pity was that no living creature had broken through to the Immortal Realm during this 1 year. Even so, the strength of the Dragon Palace was not something that the immortal sects in the 9 Cauldrons world could compare to. What surprised Wang Xian the most was the hundreds of dolphins. Their cultivation speed combined with Tang Yinshuan's, and the speed of absorbing spiritual energy was terrifying. In just a year, more than a dozen of the 300 dolphins had reached the infant realm. The dolphins' combat strength was not very strong, even though they had cultivated the water god dragon transformation. However, their support was very terrifying. They could ignite the fighting spirit of other creatures in an instant. They could maintain the clarity of the minds of other creatures and maximize their 5 senses. The circulation of the spiritual energy in their bodies was accelerated. It could almost increase the strength of a creature by 30 to 40%. In addition, they could also interfere with the enemy, slowing down the circulation of the spiritual energy and slowing down the reaction speed of the enemy. If the dolphin's ability was used in a large-scale battle, it would definitely be the most terrifying existence. Dragon King. Ao Yao Yao Ao Jianma Green Dragon 16 Strange Yao Yao, and the disciples of the Dragon Gate came and bowed respectfully to Wang Xian. Let's go back. Wang Xian said to them as he looked at Xiaoyu, Lan Qingyue and the rest. Alright, let's go. Let's see what the outside world has become. The group of girls looked excited. They had been in seclusion for a year and just happened to see the world of the 9 cauldrons. They believed that the entire world had undergone great changes. The group of them moved and flew towards the surface of the sea. Around the Dragon Palace, hundreds of thousands of intelligent aquatic creatures saw Wang Xian flying out and immediately bowed respectfully. Splash! After flying out of the sea, the group of them looked around with smiles on their faces. Although the Dragon Palace was magnificent and beautiful, the group of girls would feel a little impatient after staying for a long time. Let's fly over directly. Wang Xian looked at them and flew towards the direction of Wuxia at a terrifying speed. Among them, even the dragon men of the Dragon Gate were at the infant realm. Mo Qinglong, Lan Qingyue, Xiaoyu, Elder Fan, Sun Lingxiu, and Ajaya had already reached the half-step immortal god realm. The remaining 80 or so dragon men, Wang Xian, gave them all the spiritual herbs and elixirs that they had obtained from the Ding of Yu world during this 1 year. 80-odd infant realm warriors were already strong enough. There were at most 100-odd infant realm warriors in the entire Yongchang world. With the strength of more than 100 of them, they could cause the entire 9 cauldrons world to be afraid of them. The group flew very fast. In less than 20 minutes they could see the city in the distance. Xiaoyu, Qingyu, Lingxiu, Qinglan, Ajaya, Wang Xian, I'm going back first. Tang Yinxian stopped. She was heading in a different direction from Wang Xian and the rest. Sister Yinxian, be careful and keep in touch. Xiaoyu, Lan Qingyue, and the rest held onto Tang Yinshuan's arm as they spoke. Okay, I'll look for you guys after I stay at home for a few days. Tang Yinxian nodded. They had been together for almost 24 hours a day for a year, which made their relationship as close as sisters. Regardless of whether it was sisterhood or the dolphins in the Dragon Palace who were like family to Tang Yinxian, she would not leave the Dragon Palace. She admired and liked Wang Xian. Now that the 9 cauldrons world has appeared, there are as many experts in the pugilistic world as the clouds. Mo Yuan, bring the 9 draconids and protect her safety. Also, the 4 strange demons, you guys protect her in secret. Wang Xian looked to the side and ordered Mo Yuan and the 4 strange demons. It's the Dragon King. We swear to protect Miss Tang Yinshuan's safety with our lives. Mo Yuan immediately shouted respectfully. This zither is a level 12 spiritual weapon. The bell isn't very useful. There's also a spiritual sword below it. Wang Xian took out a zither from his interspatial ring and handed it to her as he said with a smile. Alright, there's no need for so many people to follow me. A hint of warmth flashed across Tang Yinshuan's eyes as she reached out to take it. It's alright. You're the weakest. With Devil Abyss and the rest by your side you'll be safe. The 4 strange demons are also in the dark just in case. Wang Xian shook his head and looked at her. Let's go. Okay. Tang Yinxian smiled sweetly at Wang Xian and nodded. She waved at Xiaoyu, Lan Qingyue, and the other 5 girls before flying off in another direction. Wang Xian looked at her with a smile. She's already gone, but she's still looking. Ajaya looked at Wang Xian and teased him. Hee hee. Wang Xian smiled and held Ajaya's body. Take the plane back later. Bring 20 draconids and 4 demons. Come back as soon as possible. That's more like it. Ajaya smiled happily and looked at the city ahead. Let's go. Let's go to the airport of the city in front. The group flew over and found a secret place to get down. They then sent Ajaya onto the plane. Ajaya had been with Wang Xian for more than a year. It was time for her to go home and take a look. Let's go back too. After sending a Jiaya onto the plane, the sky had turned dark. Wang Xian and the rest moved and flew towards the seaside villa in Jianghu City. In less than half an hour they arrived at the sky above Jianghu City. Looking at this familiar city, a smile appeared on their faces. Dragon King, our floating island is gone. At this moment Mo Qinglong, who was at the side, said with a dark expression and a twinkle in his eyes. Due to various reasons, the floating island had been placed here all along. No one knew who had taken it away. It's fine. We'll just find it again. You guys can stay in the villa by the side. As Wang Xian spoke, he moved and arrived in the courtyard of the villa in an instant. The villa was already filled with dust and cobwebs. Weeds were growing everywhere. Wang Xian waved his arm and the weeds in the courtyard were removed. Sun Lingxiu, who was at the side, spat out the luminous dragon pearl. The dragon pearl surrounded the room and removed all the dust. The entire villa became spotless in an instant. Let's go home. Xiao Yu, Elder Fan, Lan Qingyue and the rest walked into the room happily. Wang Xian also walked in with a smile. Cook and eat, then use your phone, watch TV and watch movies. Xiao Yu let out a cheerful scream and quickly turned on all the lights in the room. Chapter 706. Chapter 706. Wow brother, the Jianghu website has been revised. It's actually divided into 8 regions. Xinyuan, Ji, Huang, Yao, Shun, Tang, Xia and Yongchang. Each region has its own individual information. We actually belong to Shun's region. Now Jianghu is also divided into 8 regions. Each Ding world occupies a region and this region includes cities. Our Jianghu city is under the jurisdiction of the Shun Ding world. The Ming King Immortal sect and the Puppet Immortal sect are the most powerful existences in this region. 800 kilometers north of our Jianghu city is the Shun Ding world, which is the size of 4 or 5 cities in our Jianghu city. It has changed. Our world has completely changed. Martial arts have entered the school. Now, it basically belongs to the era where all the people are martial artists. Xiao Yu's exclamations could be heard from the hall of the villa. Let me take a look. Wang Xian walked to Xiao Yu's side and looked through all sorts of information over the past year together. All the immortal sects coexisted peacefully. The immortal level powerhouses were prohibited from taking action. The immortal level powerhouses gave the order to forbid killing ordinary people. Numerous messages flashed past their eyes. Wang Xian and Xiao Yu opened up the posts one by one and read them. After the emergence of the 9 cauldrons and the emergence of world after world, the inevitable conflicts had led to many large-scale battles. This was especially so during the period of 7 months ago. Due to some conflicts, the immortal sect continued to fight. The entire Jianghu was in a bloody state. The ordinary disciples of the immortal sect were killed and the elite disciples came out to take revenge. In the end, the deacons and elders of the immortal sect were drawn out. Thus, some large-scale battles took place. In particular, when one of the heavens favored disciples of the immortal sects was killed, the immortal god was enraged and killed the core disciples of the other side. When one immortal sect's immortal god made a move, the other side naturally retaliated. There might be some difference in strength between the immortal sects, but it could not completely suppress them. When the immortal god made a move, it would cause a battle between the immortal gods. 7 months ago, a total of 3 immortal god battles took place. Each time, the sun and moon lost their light, and the terrifying sounds of battle resounded throughout the entire Jianghu. The entire eastern mountain range became a 10,000-meter-long pit under the immortal gods' battle. Later, in the Xinyuan tripod world, the Xinyuan clan and the Yuan clan made an agreement with the immortal sects that immortal god-level experts were not allowed to make a move. Once they violated the agreement, they would be punished by all the immortal sections. Finally, the immortal sects sat down to discuss. The entire Jianghu of China was divided into 8 regions. The surroundings of one cauldron occupied a region. The Jianghu gradually calmed down and began to integrate into the real world. The appearance of the new world caused a huge uproar on the internet. It took 2 whole months for the people of China to accept the new world. However, the appearance of martial arts made all the ordinary people of China extremely excited. Everyone wanted to become an expert who could leap over roofs and walk over walls. Since those immortal sects had entered the real world, they were also prepared to integrate into it. The people in the real world learned martial arts while the people in the 8-tripod world learned modern knowledge. After 5 months of integration, the embryonic form of the new world had been finalized. Science and technology coexisted with martial arts. The martial arts world had also entered the world of the ordinary people. All the schools had set up a martial arts course to strengthen the body. In short, the current Jianghu was not as bad as Wang Xian had imagined. There were still battles and frictions, but there was already an initial order. Xiao Yu, tomorrow we will visit some of our fellow disciples from Thorn sect. Now they have joined the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect. All right, brother. Are you coming with us? Xiao Yu looked at Wang Xian and asked him. No, you guys go ahead. Bring some draconids and demons over. I'll go to school tomorrow. Wang Xian shook his head and said to him. School? I want to go back to school too. I haven't even completed my university career for a year. Xiao Yu pouted and said unhappily. Hee hee. Wang Xian smiled and looked at Lan Qingyue and Sun Lingxiu. What about you guys? Where are you going tomorrow? I'm going home. I've already told my parents. I'm going to the Divine Dragon Medical Center to check on the medical center and see if Xiao Hong is slacking off. Lan Qingyue and Sun Lingxiu said. All right, let's eat and sleep. We'll go for a stroll tomorrow. Wang Xian said with a smile. Woof woof. Suddenly, the sound of a dog barking could be heard. Following that, a 2-meter-tall dog entered the villa. This, every day, come here. The bloody miracle doctor has made him so fat. Lan Qingyue and Elder Fan looked at the heavenly dog with smiles on their faces. His strength has actually reached the infant stage. Wang Xian looked at the heavenly dog in astonishment. He must have cultivated to the infant stage under the waterfall of spiritual energy. This heavenly dog's bloodline is extraordinary. It's very likely that he has achieved a huge improvement. Wang Xian touched him and the heavenly dog immediately lowered its head obediently. The next morning, Xiao Yu and Elder Fan left directly to visit the people from the Thorn sect. Wang Xian put on a set of simple clothes and walked towards the school. Sitting in the luxurious RV, the heavenly dog followed suit. Wang Xian stroked its head with a smile and scanned the surroundings. The surroundings didn't change much, but Wang Xian saw many young and middle-aged men with long braids. There were also some martial artists who were jumping on the trees. The cars on the street were moving forward. It was obvious that they were used to the situation around them. Wang Xian didn't let the heavenly dog follow him. He came to the entrance of the school and took out his cell phone to call Wang Dahai. It's been more than a year. I wonder if this kid is still in school. Wang Xian said with a smile. Hello, old Wang. Is that you? Wang Dahai's excited voice came from the phone. It's me. Where are you, kid? I'm in school now. Are you still in school? Wang Xian heard the familiar voice and his face was full of smiles. Ah, old Wang, you're at school. Boss, I'm here. Where are you? I'll go look for you immediately. Wang Dahai said hurriedly. It was old Wang calling out to him again. I'll go look for you. Tell me where you are. I'll go look for you. There are some changes in the school. You might not be able to find me. In a spacious room, Wang Dahai stood beside a few young men and women. After hanging up the phone, he walked to the side of a woman with a smile on his face. The woman's face was exquisite, and there was a proud look on her face. She crossed her arms and held a sword in her hand, looking like an ice-cold heroine. Senior sister, I'm going to pick up a friend. I'll be back soon. Okay. The woman nodded coldly. She didn't even look at Wang Dahai, but stared at the people in front of her. There, a group of warriors were sparring. Most of them were at level 4, 5, or 6. This was something unimaginable a year ago. Old Wang. In less than 2 minutes, Wang Dahai's figure appeared in Wang Xian's line of sight. Compared to a year ago, Wang Dahai's fat body had completely turned into muscles. He was a muscular man. With a simple and honest smile on his face, he pounced on Wang Xian excitedly. When Wang Xian saw this scene, he didn't dare to look straight at him. Big brother, boss, old Wang, Dragon King, I missed you so much. Wang Dahai spread his arms and stared at Wang Xian with burning eyes. Scram. Wang Xian placed his finger on Wang Dahai's chest and said in disdain. It's been more than a year. Old Wang, where have you been? I thought. No, you are so awesome. How could something happen to you? Let's go. Wang Dahai patted Wang Xian's shoulder in excitement. I have some things to do. Now that I'm back, I won't be leaving anytime soon. Chapter 707. Chapter 707. Old Wang, you've been gone for more than a year. I missed you so much. I thought Old Wang had forgotten about a nobody like me. Hee hee, we must get drunk tonight. Old Wang, let's go to the class and take a look. It seems to be a public class today. Our classmates are not gathered together. Wang Dahai said to Wang Xian excitedly. He knew Wang Xian's identity. The overlord of the martial arts world a year ago, the Dragon King of the Dragon Gate, was actually his brother. He was very excited just thinking about it. Where are our counselors? Are they bringing us along? Wang Xian asked Wang Dahai with a smile on his face. No need. Our counselors have gone to be civil servants. Zhang Feng and Zhang Wen have also dropped out of school and joined the Puppet Immortal sect. Wang Dahai said to Wang Xian. Oh, why did they join the Puppet Immortal sect? Wang Xian revealed a surprised expression. Old Wang, I know about the spiritual energy waterfall a year ago. After that, I told Zhang Feng and Zhang Wen about it. Later on, we were lucky and built our foundation under a spiritual energy waterfall. After the spiritual energy waterfall was washed away, our cultivation speed was very fast. Now I have joined the Mingwang Immortal sect. However, as there are disciples of the Immortal sect studying in our Jianghu City University, the warden of the Immortal sect sent me to follow these disciples and recruit some disciples with potential. Wang Dahai explained to him. Wang Xian nodded his head. Currently, the martial arts practitioners who had undergone the baptism of the spiritual energy waterfall had a physique that far surpassed those in the Nine Cauldrons world due to the impact of the huge amount of spiritual energy. Therefore, those immortal sects would take them in as their disciples. As the disciples of the immortal sects wanted to integrate into the world, there would be a situation where the disciples of the immortal sects would go to university. By the way, where is your girlfriend, Su Qian? Wang Xian asked her with a smile. She is also in school. She joined the Mingwang Celestial sect with me. Yuan also joined. At that time, the spiritual waterfall of Shunding was not too far away from us. Many people had entered the spiritual waterfall. However, many of them did not stay for long before they were controlled by the martial arts practitioners of the past. Without the ability, they would not be able to enter the spiritual waterfall. As Wang Dahai spoke, he puffed out his chest and said, Boss, what do you think of me now? A fighter of level 8 will be able to step into the Xiantian realm in 5 years at most. You are still too weak. Wang Xian shook his head. He waved his arm and landed it on Wang Dahai's chest. Before he could react, he felt a terrifying energy entering his body directly. The 8 extraordinary meridians were opened in an instant. A martial artist was at level 9, half-step into the Xiantian realm and the Xiantian realm. In just a short instant, Wang Dahai's cultivation base was elevated to the Xiantian realm. Wang Dahai was stunned. Following that, his face turned red. He quickly hugged Wang Xian's arm and said, Efusike boss, you are my boss for life. Get lost. I didn't plan to teach you before you stepped into martial arts. Now that you have embarked on this path, I can only help you up to this point. Wang Xian pushed his arm away. A smile appeared on his face before he threw a porcelain bottle to him. There are some elixirs in there. It's enough for you to advance to the dance stage. I will give it to you then. He said faintly, let's go for a walk. Let's have dinner together tonight. All right. Wang Dahai nodded excitedly. He asked with anticipation, Boss, how strong are you now? Are you as strong as the immortals from the immortal sects? What do you think? Wang Xian smiled and didn't answer. He looked around with a smile. Hee, even if you aren't that strong, you are at least an infant-stage powerhouse. With your subordinates, you are still very strong. Wang Dahai didn't dare to imagine that Wang Xian was as strong as the immortals. He smiled foolishly. Bus. At this moment, Wang Dahai's phone rang. Wang Dahai, come back immediately. As soon as Wang Dahai said that, the other party immediately hung up the phone. Wang Dahai's face was filled with helplessness. What's wrong? When Wang Xian heard the voice on his phone, he asked curiously. Senior sister from the Celestial sect, she asked me to rush over. Isn't school just starting? There's a batch of new students. There are dozens of martial artists who know how to cultivate. They joined the school's martial arts club. As long as they can reach the level of a martial artist above LV8, they are qualified to join the Celestial sect. The martial arts club can be considered a small place for the Celestial sect to select disciples. Wang Dahai explained to Wang Xian with a bitter face. Oh, is that so? Come, let's go and take a look. Wang Xian was slightly interested and said immediately. Alright, let's hurry over then. If we are late, we will have to face her arrogant face again. As Wang Dahai spoke, he quickened his pace and walked towards the martial arts club. Wang Xian followed by the side with a smile on his face. The martial arts club was now in a single large room. The entire room was the size of a playground. It was obvious that it had just been built not long ago. In the martial arts club, there were about 200 people gathered inside. At the center there were 3 to 4 young men standing there. Senior sister. Wang Dahai walked in and shouted at a girl in the center. N? The girl took a glance at her and didn't say anything else. Student Wang Xian. Senior Wang Xian. It's really Senior Wang Xian. At this moment, surprised voices came from the surroundings. Wang Xian was slightly stunned. He looked around and found that he didn't know anyone other than Su Qian and Yuan. However, all the senior students in Jianghu City University knew him, so he wasn't surprised. Hello. Wang Xian smiled at them kindly. It's really Senior Wang Xian. I haven't seen you for more than a year. Where's Xiaoyu? Su Qian and Yuan came to Wang Xian's side with pleasant surprise and asked him. Xiaoyu will be back in 2 days. Wang Xian said to them. Who is this? 40 to 50 people in the surroundings shouted Wang Xian's name, causing a curious expression to appear on the faces of the surrounding people. All of them were freshmen and sophomores of Jianghu City University. They had never seen Wang Xian before, so they asked their seniors out of curiosity. Student Wang Xian, he should be a senior now. He used to be an influential figure in Jianghu City University. He once donated 50 million to the university, but he hasn't appeared in the school for more than a year. Not only that, Senior Wang Xian has also managed to woo the former goddess of our Jianghu City University. He is the most handsome Prince Charming in our school. Some students who were of the same level as Wang Xian and were of a lower grade said to the surrounding juniors and juniors. Wow, donating 50 million. That's amazing. Senior Wang Xian is also quite handsome. TSK, he's just rich. Now that the world of martial arts is in his hands, being strong is the true capital. Some of the girls were in awe, but most of them were a little disdainful. The world today was the world of martial artists. No matter how much money there was, it was useless compared to being strong. When the few people in the center heard the discussions around them, they looked curiously at Wang Xian, who was beside Wang Dahai. Wang Dahai, non-martial artists are prohibited from entering our martial arts club. A young man looked at Wang Dahai and glanced at Wang Xian before saying in a deep voice. Chapter 708. Chapter 708. Senior brother, my boss is a martial artist and he is very powerful. Wang Dahai quickly said to the young man. A martial artist. The girl in the middle raised her eyebrows slightly when she heard Wang Dahai's words. Her arrogant eyes swept across Wang Xian. To be able to make Wang Dahai call him boss and say that he was very powerful, he must be at least a level 8 martial artist. I'll take advantage of some time to come over and teach you 2 moves. Don't waste my time. At this moment a young man's voice sounded. Everyone's gaze focused on the young man, their faces filled with respect. This young man was an elite disciple of the Ming Wang immortal sect. His strength had already reached the half-step dance stage. He had specially come to the university to learn modern knowledge. He was not in charge of the martial arts club's teaching methods. This time he was invited over by a few disciples of the martial arts club to give him some pointers. The young man had shaved off his long hair and was dressed in a white robe. He was handsome and dashing, and he had the demeanor of a proud son of heaven. Yes, it's senior brother. The young man who had spoken just now also nodded respectfully. Today I will teach you the Ming King body sealing technique. It is an offensive technique that all disciples of our immortal sect below the Khanate realm must master. It is not bad. Junior brother Lu, find someone to demonstrate it. I will guide them. The young man in white put his hands behind his back and said slowly in a heroic manner. It's senior brother Liang. Junior brother Lu nodded immediately. He scanned his surroundings and suddenly raised his eyebrows. He pointed at Wang Xian and said, Wang Dahai said that you are strong. Come over and accompany me to practice. Let me see your strength too. If you are stronger than Wang Dahai, we can apply for you to join the Ming Wang immortal sect. Wang Dahai was slightly stunned. When he saw the young man pointing at Wang Xian, he quickly said, Senior brother Lu, forget about my friend. I'll do it. I'll do it. I said let him do it. Junior brother Lu ignored Wang Dahai. He pointed at Wang Xian and said again. Wang Dahai's expression changed slightly. Forget about me. This fellow student, let someone else practice with you. Wang Xian shook his head and said with a smile. It's your honor for senior brother Lu to let you practice. Do you really think you're a big shot? At this moment, a burly young man shouted at Wang Xian. That's right. It's your honor for our senior brother Lu to let you practice. I would have been more than happy to choose me, but you actually refused. That's right, that's right. Don't waste our senior brother Liang's time. I'll let you practice. Some of the new students around shouted at Wang Xian hurriedly. A famous figure in the school? Wang Xian? Sorry, I don't know him. What kind of figure is he? Their senior brother Lu is a Shintian-level powerhouse. It's your honor to let you practice. Those students who knew Wang Xian immediately frowned and looked at Wang Xian with a complicated expression. After all, he was a famous figure from a year ago. The times had changed. They didn't think that a rich senior could be compared to an immortal sect powerhouse with terrifying strength. All of you shut up. When Wang Dahai heard the words of the students around him, he shouted with an embarrassed expression. Actual combat practice is even better. At this moment, senior brother Liang glanced at Wang Xian with a smile on his face and said with a smile. He wasn't targeting Wang Xian. Instead, he had the indifference of a powerhouse. He was smiling to see what kind of ability this influential figure from a university in the real world had. In front of him, who was the Prince Charming among the many girls in Jianghu City University, he was nothing. That's right, senior brother Liang is right. Junior brother Lu revealed a big smile when he heard the young man in white. He turned his head and stared at Wang Xian. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. I'll let you have one hand. Watch carefully. Next, I'll show you the powerful attack technique of our Ming Wang immortal sect, the Ming Wang seal. Junior brother Lu placed one hand behind his back and stared at Wang Xian with a cold and arrogant expression. Then he moved. All the students in the surroundings immediately focused their attention on him. Junior brother Lu moved. Boom. However, at this moment, junior brother Lu's expression changed drastically. His entire body was drenched in sweat. He laid on the ground and panted heavily with a terrified expression. His entire body went soft and his body trembled slightly. He couldn't even speak. Wang Xian shook his head lightly. He really didn't know what kind of courage he had to dare to challenge an immortal god. He only revealed a trace of his imposing manner. Junior brother Lu Yu. Senior brother Liang was stunned when he saw junior brother Lu suddenly falling to the ground. He immediately walked over. However, at this moment, an imposing manner that made him shudder overcame him. He felt as though the sky was collapsing. Bang! Senior brother Liang was sweating profusely as well. He laid on the ground and looked up at Wang Xian with his eyes wide open. He was filled with fear and disbelief. You don't know what's good for you. Wang Xian said calmly, Dahai, I'm going to take a look around. Come and find me when you're done. All right. Wang Dahai swallowed a mouthful of saliva. When he saw senior brother Lu and senior brother Liang lying on the ground, a teasing look flashed across his eyes. I've already said that my boss is very powerful. Wait. At this moment, the cold and arrogant woman standing at the side revealed a look of shock. Her arrogance did not disappear completely. There was only a look of shock. Which immortal sect are you from? I am the Dragon King of the Dragon Gate. Wang Xian paused for a moment and said with a smile. Dragon King of the Dragon Gate. The woman revealed a look of confusion. When Wang Xian heard the woman mumbling to herself, he felt a little self-deprecating. Things have changed, but people have changed. He was once the king of the entire Jianghu. Now that a year had passed, no one knew about his Dragon Gate. No one knew about his Dragon King. Interesting, hee. Wang Xian couldn't help but laugh out loud. He walked out with a smile on his face. Bastard, Dragon King of the Dragon Gate, what is that? After Wang Xian left, the terrifying pressure on senior brother Liang and junior brother Lu disappeared. The two of them looked extremely embarrassed as they growled at Wang Dahai in a low voice. Wang Dahai pursed his lips. The Dragon King of the Dragon Gate was once a taboo existence. He was the king of the Jianghu. Even when he was facing an expert from the Nine Cauldrons world, he was still able to kill and suppress him. The Dragon Gate is a Jianghu faction established by my boss. It was very famous when the Nine Cauldrons world was not around. A faction from the past and a trashy sect actually dared to embarrass us. Junior brother Lu clenched his fists with an embarrassed expression. Senior brother Liang's eyes were also flickering and his gaze was cold. Senior brother Liang, his strength is at least at the Dan stage or even higher. The lady at the side reminded him with a sullen face. I know. Senior brother Liang's expression was extremely embarrassed as he walked out directly. The group of martial arts club students were dumbstruck as their faces revealed a look of shock. Wang Xian, who was once a popular figure in the school, didn't even move. He even made senior brother Lu and senior brother Liang lie on the ground and sweat profusely. He was too strong. How strong was that Wang Xian exactly? A hint of fear flashed across the eyes of the few new students who spoke just now. Chapter 709. Chapter 709, The Clash Between the New and Old Campus Heroes. Senior Wang Xian. Look, it's Senior Wang Xian. I didn't expect it to be Senior Wang Xian. It's really true. It's been more than a year since we last met. Senior Wang Xian seems to have become more handsome again. Wang Xian walked alone in the campus. He slowly walked to the lotus pond where he got the divine dragon system. He was in a very pleasant mood. After dozens of battles in the martial arts world, this quiet atmosphere made him feel very comfortable. When he was in the martial arts club, he didn't make a move. He only released a hint of his aura. He wasn't trying to act pretentious. He just thought that it was very interesting. Wang Xian was a popular figure in the school a year ago. 100% of the students knew him. Therefore, when he walked in the campus, the students in their third year and fourth year all pointed at Wang Xian and said in surprise, donating 50 million to the school and donating money to a female student to treat her illness. All the bonuses for the poor students in the school were related to Wang Xian. His reputation was not only because of his good looks and his pursuit of the school's goddess. It was also because of what he had done for the school. All the students were filled with respect and gratitude towards Wang Xian. When they saw that he had returned to the school, all of them greeted him warmly. Senior Wang Xian, are you going back to school? A girl couldn't help but ask. Yes, I should be staying at school for some time. What's wrong? Wang Xian smiled at her and asked curiously. It's nothing. Senior is handsome again. The girl said with a smile and left with a smile. Wang Xian shook his head and asked the student to head to his class. At this moment, the discussion about Wang Xian's return to school flooded the forum. Senior Wang Xian has returned. Senior has become more handsome again. My Prince Charming has returned to school. He sent a picture that he secretly took. He is simply too handsome. Senior Wang Xian has returned. La la la, confessed to Senior. Wang Xian's reputation in the school was incomparable to anyone else. What he did was truly worthy of the respect of the students. Therefore, when the news of Wang Xian's return to the school spread in the forum, the entire forum was instantly flooded with comments. Very soon, the posts welcoming the return of the seniors and declaring their love for each other were neatly posted. Regardless of the gender, the posts were neatly posted. In just a few hours, over 1,000 posts were posted. The scene on the forum stunned many of the freshmen and sophomores. What Wang Xian? What Prince Charming? What? In a classroom of the freshmen, a girl dressed sexily looked at the posts on the forum and curled her lips in disdain. Only Mu Zidao and Ming Feng are Prince Charming. What kind of Prince Charming is this Wang Xian? He is even the most popular Prince Charming in the school. How can he be compared to Mu Zidao and Ming Feng? Even Liang Guwen is better than this Wang Xian. The lady looked at the forum with some dissatisfaction. When she saw that the forum was spamming non-stop, she was a little annoyed and immediately posted the thread. This is the male idols. What kind of male idols is that Wang Xian? These few short words were followed by the pictures of Mu Zidao and Ming Feng. The two of them stood at the top of the school building. Their faces were full of arrogance. Their otherworldly temperament was clearly displayed. The post was released. However, within a few minutes after her post was released, it had already attracted the attention of many seniors and seniors. Upon seeing this post, they were instantly enraged. One after another, they replied below. A handsome man is not a Prince Charming. There are many handsome men in Jianghu City University. Only those who contribute to the school and their classmates can be called Prince Charming. What qualifications do the two of them have to compete with Senior Wang Xian? Little girl, don't you know that Senior Wang Xian was the most popular person in our school a year ago? He is the Prince Charming of the masses. This thread was like a fuse that caused an uproar in an instant. The first and second year students had no idea who Wang Xian was. However, they knew Mu Zidao and Ming Feng. They were from the celestial sect and were peerless experts who could travel in the air. Their every move carried a trace of otherworldly aura. They were the dream boys of the freshmen and sophomores. Ever since they entered the school, they had received countless love letters. They were from the celestial sect, handsome and strong. How could Wang Xian, who had some stinky money, compare to them? Therefore, when the first and second year girls saw this post, they immediately retorted. There were even many first and second year girls who said bluntly that a guy with a little money had no right to be compared to Mu Zidao and obviously Feng. The two of them were not on the same level. Just like a commoner and a prince, that Wang Xian was not even worthy to give Mu Zidao and obviously Feng Tiao shoes. The retorts of the freshmen and sophomores also made the juniors and seniors furious. After all, the juniors and seniors were men and women. Furthermore, they had eaten for 2 more years, so their vocabulary was more than theirs. All kinds of moral words were thrown out, causing the freshmen and sophomores to be a little dumbfounded. It made them extremely angry. The future will be a world of martial arts. Strength is the most important thing. Money is just a piece of paper to the strong. That Wang Xian is like a monkey in front of Mu Zidao and Ming Feng. He can't be compared to them at all. That's right. Support Mu Zidao and Ming Feng to teach this Wang Xian a lesson. Let him know that strength is the most important thing now. When this post was posted by the furious and enchanting girl, a smug look appeared on her face. If Mu Zidao and Ming Feng taught Wang Xian a lesson, then Wang Xian was nothing. When this post appeared, it also made the 3rd and 4th year students furious. At the same time, they were also a little worried. The world was no longer the same as before. They knew that Wang Xian was rich, but they did not know that Wang Xian had the strength. The world of martial arts was now the world of the immortal sect. What would they do if Mu Zidao and Ming Feng really taught Wang Xian a lesson? The 3rd, 4th and 3rd year students were filled with anger, but they were also afraid and extremely sullen. After all, Mu Zidao and Ming Feng were the strong ones of the immortal sect. They were terrifying strong ones. Seeing that the aura of the seniors and juniors had weakened, those freshmen and sophomores began to mock and ridicule them in the forum with a smug look on their faces. What kind of conflict between the new and old school missions? The famous people in the school in the past were nothing but a joke now. This made those juniors and seniors extremely angry. Wang Xian did not know about the fight in the school forum. At this moment, he was standing on the rooftop and scanning the entire school with a satisfied expression. The bell for the end of class rang and he saw groups of students walking out of the classroom. Sometimes, I don't have to worry about going to school. Wang Xian looked at the group of students below and considered staying in the school for the next period of time. He had only attended university for a year, so he still had many regrets. Furthermore, with his current strength, he didn't have to fight as hard as before. The members of the Dragon Gate and the Dragon Palace were already able to take charge of their own affairs. Chapter 7:10. Chapter 7:10. Student Mu Zidao is obviously student Feng. Look at the school forum. Those seniors are really detestable. They actually said that someone is even more handsome than the two of you. In one of the classrooms in the school, the bell rang after class. The enchanting girl took her phone and ran to the 2 young men in front of her. One of the young men still had his hair tied up in ancient costumes, looking like a classical Prince Charming. The other one had his eyebrows in pieces, exuding a lazy and otherworldly aura. The enchanting girl seemed to be fawning over them as she showed them her post. The two of them smiled. When they saw the girls fawning over them, their vanity was greatly satisfied. Among the disciples of the immortal sect, the two of them could only be considered as relatively talented disciples. Compared to the true Heaven's Pride disciples of the immortal sect and the eldest senior brother of the immortal sect, there was still a huge gap. However, in this place, everyone was centered around them. Those praises and admiration were not stingy as they spoke to them. Let me take a look. The long-haired Ming Feng reached out his hand to take the phone. A single action caused the enchanting girl beside him to be pleasantly surprised. Mu Zidao and Ming Feng, we have already spoken up for you guys on the forum. How can that Wang Xian compare to you guys? That's right. We, Mu Zidao and Ming Feng, can only pick the stars with one hand. How can a guy with a little money be compared to us? Around them, a group of girls in the classroom immediately surrounded them and chattered excitedly. This made the two of them extremely satisfied. An ordinary person. There's nothing that can compare to us. Ming Feng took a look and indifferently handed his phone to the enchanting girl beside him. Student Ming Feng, those seniors are simply too detestable. You guys should teach that Wang Xian a good lesson and let those seniors know the difference between him and you guys. The enchanting girl pretended to be angry as she spoke. Mu Zidao waved his hand and raised his head slightly. Our immortal sect has a rule that we can't attack ordinary people. In other words, he doesn't have the qualifications. He doesn't have the qualifications. That's right. Mu Zidao, student Ming Feng is right. That Wang Xian doesn't have the qualifications to be on par with all of you. Some of the girls around hurriedly spoke. Senior brother Mu, senior brother Ming. However, at this moment, a voice came from outside. Junior brother Liang, what's the matter? Mu Zidao looked behind curiously and waved his hand. The girls around immediately dispersed. Senior brothers. The young man walked in. He was the young man who was called Senior Brother Liang in the martial arts club. At this moment, he walked over with a sullen face and said with an embarrassed expression, Senior brothers, can we talk outside? Mu Zidao and Ming Feng saw his expression and hesitated for a moment. Then they nodded slowly and walked out. You mean? When they heard the young man's report, the corners of their lips curled up slightly. Interesting. Dragon King of the Dragon Gate? He used to be a force in the Jianghu. If there's a chance, we can go and meet him. Oh right, what's his name? I think his name is Wang Xian. He's very famous in the school. Wang Xian. Immediately, Mu Zidao and Ming Feng were stunned. Then, a teasing expression appeared on their faces. Interesting, really interesting. Haha, I didn't expect him to be a martial artist. Is this considered a clash between the influential figures of the new and old schools? Mu Zidao laughed out loud. His eyes were filled with interest as if he had found a fun game. We can't disappoint those who support us. Obviously, Feng touched the long sword in his hand and took out a phone. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. The youth was slightly stunned when he heard the words of his two senior brothers. He didn't understand what they meant. However, when he saw his two senior brothers enter the classroom, he didn't dare to ask further. However, when he returned to the classroom and listened to the conversations of the students around him, a ferocious look of excitement appeared on his face. Your strength is relatively strong, but senior brother Mu Zidao and Ming Feng both have the strength of the peak of the Dan stage. This time you will be in trouble. You are a force in the Jianghu that broke through the Dragon Gate. What Dragon King? You actually dare to fight against us disciples of the immortal sect. You are simply courting death. His eyes were filled with ferocity and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. At this moment, a message on the school forum had caused a stir among everyone. I didn't expect Senior Wang Xian to be a pugilistic world martial artist. Let's spar when we have the time. It was a very casual sentence, but the person who posted it was Mu Zidao. When the students of the school saw this post, they were stunned. Especially those students who were in their third year and fourth year, their faces were filled with anger and self-reproach. Mu Zidao actually wants to challenge Senior Wang Xian. This is simply bullying. He, a member of the immortal sect, actually dares to bully Senior Wang Xian. This is too unfair. He is too despicable. He actually did such a despicable thing. A group of students who were in their third year and fourth year replied below. However, they were quickly met with a group of retorts. Your Prince Charming Wang Xian is a martial artist. Didn't you guys say that he is the most influential person in the school? It's a good opportunity for him to spar with our student Mu Zidao. Ah, that's right. Why are you guys so cowardly? Isn't he the most powerful person in your hearts? Our student Mu Zidao wants to teach your Prince Charming a lesson. He wants to know if you are afraid. Those first year and second year girls ridiculed them to the extreme, almost causing the third year and fourth year students to go berserk. Our student Mu Zidao can cripple that Wang Xian with a single finger. Without using a single finger, our student Mu Zidao is standing there exuding the aura of a powerhouse. Maybe that Wang Xian will kneel down. I hope that Wang Xian doesn't cower and spar with our student Mu Zidao. Gradually the entire forum was filled with such voices. Fuck. At this moment, Wang Dehai walked out of the martial arts club and noticed what was happening on the forum. His face revealed an angry expression. Fuck. You Mu Zidao want to spar with the Dragon King of the Dragon Gate? You're simply courting death. If it wasn't for me and you, the immortal sect, I would have pasted on you long ago. Fuck. As he spoke, he ran towards the top of the teaching building. Boss, old Wang. When he reached the top of the building, Wang Dahai saw Wang Xian sitting comfortably on it and immediately ran over. What's wrong? Your cold senior sister asked you to come out. Wang Xian looked at Wang Dahai and said with a smile. Hey, those guys are too arrogant. They think that the disciples of the immortal sect are superior to others. What's so great about them? They're not as awesome as you, old Wang. Wang Dahai smiled. That senior brother Lu is even worse. He saw that you might have some prestige, so he wanted to step on you. In the end, he was simply courting death. Oh right, old Wang, there's another guy provoking you in the school forum. He's an elite disciple of our immortal sect, with the strength of the peak of the dance stage. FUCK them. Let them know how powerful and terrifying the Dragon King of the Dragon Gate is. Make that guy tremble. Chapter 7:11. Chapter 7:11. Wang Dahai went to the rooftop and spoke to Wang Xian angrily. When Wang Xian heard his series of words, a curious expression appeared on his face. Is that so? He took out his phone and opened the school forum to take a look. As expected, the entire school forum was in an uproar. Mu Zidao directly posted on the school's forum, wanting to spar with Wang Xian. This was simply bullying. The mighty disciple of the celestial sect wanted to spar with a student. It was obvious that he wanted to show off his might. However, those third-year, fourth-year students couldn't do anything about it. They could only aggrievedly ask Mu Zidao not to bully Wang Xian and could only humbly beg for mercy. This made the girls who were in their first year and second year look pleased with themselves. Give up. Our Prince Charming Mu Zidao only posted one post and you guys have to give up. What kind of influential person was Jianghu City University? He was obviously not qualified to compete with Mu Zidao's Prince Charming. Wang Xian looked at the posts and shook his head nonchalantly. He had not returned to school for more than a year. It was normal for the freshmen and sophomores to not know him. He was not interested in Mu Zidao at all. He was just a guy who was half a step into the infant realm. If it was a year ago, Wang Xian might have been a little angry. However, he found it interesting now. The students of Jianghu City University no longer knew Wang Xian. The martial artists in the martial arts world no longer recognized him as the Dragon Gate and the Dragon King. Old Wang, should we teach that kid a lesson and let him know how powerful the Dragon King of the Dragon Gate is? Wang Dahai looked at Wang Xian swiping his phone and said from the side. Don't bother. Wang Xian waved his hand nonchalantly and started chatting with Wang Dahai. Most of the time, Wang Dahai was explaining to Wang Xian about the matters in the martial arts world by himself. He explained the various disputes that happened in the 9 cauldrons. Wang Xian was also listening to the conversation with great interest. Later on, when they talked about the martial arts world's prodigy role and the peerless beauty chart of the martial arts world, they were even more excited. Wang Xian was also looking at the photos and discussing them with great interest. To his surprise, there was actually a familiar person on the peerless beauty chart of the martial arts world, Wandering Snow from the Yongchang world. The appearance of the 9 cauldrons made the entire martial arts world much more exciting. In the past, there were only a few 100,000 martial artists of all sizes in the world of martial arts. But now there were close to 100 million of them. Boss, you don't know. I've seen the number 1 on the world of martial arts, city-toppling beauty. She's simply too beautiful. Her figure is simply perfect. The bell rang after school. Wang Dahai spoke to Wang Xian as he walked while spitting at him. Really? Is she really that beautiful? Wang Xian raised his eyebrows. Look at the photo. My goodness, it's simply too beautiful. Ahem, Xiaoqian is here. As Wang Dahai spoke, he immediately put away his perverted smile and coughed. Su Qian and Yuan walked over with smiles on their faces. Senior Wang Xian. The two of them greeted Wang Xian with smiles on their faces. Wang Xian nodded to them with a smile. Long time no see. Let's go. I'll bring you guys out for a meal. All right, senior. We just called Xiao Yu and she said that she would be back in 2 days. The two girls said with a smile. Yeah, she went to meet some friends. She'll be back soon. Wang Xian. Wang Xian, you're so rich. You've been away for more than a year. Where have you been? At this moment, voices came from the side. They were all Wang Xian's classmates. They greeted Wang Xian enthusiastically. Let's take care of some things. Let's go. I'll treat everyone to a meal today. Wang Xian smiled as he looked at the dozen of people in the class. They used to have quite a good relationship. Let's go. The nouveau riche is here. Let's eat with him. The group of students said jokingly as they walked out. Is that Wang Xian? It should be him. There's a photo of him in the forum. He's rather handsome, but he can't be compared to the imposing and elegant Mu Zidao and student Xian Feng. He can't even be compared to the other disciples of the Ming Wang immortal sect. He's far from being comparable. Look at how handsome and noble our Prince Xian Feng is. He's just like a prince. On the side of the road, a few girls turned their heads curiously when they heard the voices. They commented in a judgmental manner. There was even a girl who took out her phone and took a photo to compare it with Mu Zidao on the forum. In the blink of an eye, more than a year has passed. I have a very deep impression of student Wang Xian's car. Back then, it was so domineering that it crushed 4 top-notch sports cars. It's simply too diao. Walking out of the school gate, one of the students looked at the RV beside the entrance and said with a smile. That's right, that's right. It was so cool back then. It shocked the entire school. Look, there are many students surrounding the area. Clearly they have recognized Wang Xian's tank. As the crowd was conversing, Wang Xian turned his head and indeed saw some students pointing at his car. Obviously the incident from that time was still fresh in everyone's mind. Is he heading towards the school gate? Yes, senior brother. I heard from a classmate that that guy and a group of people are heading out of the school. At this moment, the buzzing sound of metal could be heard from the school gate. This sound was even more eye-catching than the roar of a sports car. In the school, 2 relatively cool sports cars ran out from inside. Although it was called a sports car, it was completely different from a sports car. The metal shell emitted a black glow, and the wheels were also a kind of special metal. The sharp head looked ferocious and full of attack power. The puppet war chariot is a puppet war chariot made by the puppet immortal sect. It's Mu Zidao and Ming Feng. In the entire school, only the 2 of them have puppet war chariots. It's simply too cool. I heard that it's made of precious materials and has terrifying attack power. Exclamations sounded one after another. All the students at the school gate hurriedly looked over. One was black and the other was golden. The 2 war chariots were slightly bigger than the sports cars, but they were far from being comparable to sports cars. Not long ago there was a rich man who wanted to buy a puppet war chariot for 50 million yuan. In the end, the puppet immortal sect didn't even care about him. Haha, Mu Zidao and Ming Feng want to show that Wang Xian a lesson. Behind the 2 puppet war chariots, 5 to 6 girls ran over excitedly. When they saw the puppet war chariot stopping beside Wang Xian and the rest, they were gloating over their misfortune. Those senior sisters actually dared to mock us just now. I'll let them see how their Prince Charming, the most influential person in the school, was humiliated in front of Mu Zidao and Ming Feng. A few girls walked to the side and took out their phones to take a few photos. They immediately sent them to the school forum. Those senior sisters, take a look. In front of our Mu Zidao and Ming Feng, your Prince Charming, that Wang Xian is nothing. Let me live stream for you guys. That Wang Xian looks like a clown in front of our Prince Charming. Chapter 7:12. Chapter 7:12. The girl looked at her post with a smug look on her face. She edited the picture and sent it directly. After the post was edited, it immediately appeared on the campus forum. Let's go and take a look. After the girl posted the post, she gloated and looked forward. Around them, the students were slightly shocked when they saw the 2 war chariots stopped in front of Wang Xian and the rest. They quickly looked over. Damn it. Mu Zidao and Ming Feng went to look for trouble with senior Wang Xian. Let's hurry over. Bastard. Do you think you can bully others just because you are a disciple of the celestial sect? This is bad. Let's hurry to the entrance of the school. Sai, what can we do if we go? Mu Zidao and Ming Feng are disciples of the immortal sect. Their statuses are noble and their strength is terrifying. They can seriously injure us with just a wave of their hands. Moreover, they won't be punished. At this moment, after the post was published, it immediately attracted the attention of many students. Seeing the information on it, many students instantly revealed embarrassed expressions. The news spread quickly in the class WeChat group, and a group of students rushed to the school gate. The first and second year girls were very excited. They didn't expect their Prince Charming to be so awesome. Prince Charming must have seen the posts in the forum and come out to fight for us. A group of young girls thought excitedly and quickly ran toward the school gate. All of a sudden, all the students who received the news rushed towards the entrance. At the entrance, Wang Xian looked at the puppet war chariot that was parked beside them and sized him up curiously. Mu Zidao and Ming Feng, who were sitting inside, sized up Wang Xian with their eyes. The corners of their mouths curled up slightly. The few people in the chariot got off. Mu Zidao raised his head slightly and looked down at Wang Xian arrogantly. "You're that Wang Xian, the so-called Dragon King of the Dragon Gate." Gulp. "Wang Xian, let's not argue with them. Let's leave this place." Beside them, a few students in the class saw Mu Zidao and Ming Feng and the rest. They gulped and their eyes were filled with fear. They tugged at Wang Xian's arm and whispered, "Hee hee." Wang Xian chuckled and nodded to the students beside him. Then he walked straight out. "Stop, did I let you leave?" Mu Zidao and Ming Feng raised their eyebrows slightly when they saw Wang Xian ignoring them and leaving. Liang Guwen, who was beside them, shouted at Wang Xian with a cold expression. His eyes were filled with coldness. What happened in the martial arts club today had caused him to lose all his face. He was extremely furious. Now that he saw Wang Xian's cold expression, he was even more furious. That Wang Xian actually wants to leave. Looks like he's cowardly. He's really cowardly. He doesn't even dare to face Mu Zidao and student Xianfeng. They are on completely different levels. When the surrounding girls saw this scene, they revealed a mocking expression, especially the girl who posted on the forum. She was even more excited as she kept taking pictures with her phone. Her face was filled with disdain. "We didn't come to look for you because of some famous person in the school or some Prince Charming. It's meaningless." Mu Zidao saw Wang Xian turn around with a slight frown. He stared at him with a condescending gaze. "Today in the martial arts club, you embarrassed our junior brother and even claimed to be the Dragon King of the Dragon Gate. You are a force in the Jianghu. Since you dare to cause trouble in our territory, if we, the Ming Wang immortal sect, don't show our respect, everyone will think that we are a coward. Your strength is not weak, at least not below the Dan stage. We came to look for you with no other intentions. Since you dare to cause trouble in our Ming Wang immortal sect's territory, then let's have a spar. Loser, if you see the other party in the future, get lost. If you see our Ming Wang immortal sect's disciples, lower your head." His indifferent voice sounded in the surroundings and entered everyone's ears. It was obvious that he wanted everyone to hear it. How domineering, how domineering. Student Mu Zidao is simply too handsome. This is the demeanor of a disciple of an immortal sect. If only I could marry into an immortal sect. Wang Xian is also a martial artist. His strength isn't weak. However, it's obvious that he can't be compared to Mu Zidao. Furthermore, he can't be compared to the Ming Wang immortal sect. When the crowd heard Mu Zidao's words, all the girls revealed looks of admiration. There were also some girls who had helpless expressions. The high and mighty immortal sect. Senior Wang Xian was going to be in trouble this time. Your territory? When Wang Xian heard his words, his eyes flickered slightly. The territory of the Ming Wang immortal sect? In the past, everyone in Jianghu City knew whose territory it was. Now, someone actually said that it was their territory. Our territory. This is the territory of our Ming Wang immortal sect. How dare you bully our junior brother in our territory? Come, let's spar. Let me see how capable you are. Mu Zidao raised his head slightly and stared at Wang Xian with disdain. This is not your territory. Wang Xian stared at Mu Zidao and said slowly. A hint of coldness flashed across his eyes. Senior Wang Xian, this is not your era anymore. Do you think it's still the same as before? I heard that Senior Wang Xian used your RV to crush 4 multimillion-dollar sports cars. At that time, Jianghu City University was your territory. Now. The enchanting girl next to him crossed her arms and said with a face full of mockery. Her voice was very loud and could be heard by the surrounding people. Oh, so only by crushing the opponent's car with a luxury car can you say that this is our territory? However, this method is indeed impressive. At this moment, obviously Feng heard the words of the girl next to him. His face was full of smiles. He moved his body and got into the puppet chariot. Then I shall use this senior's method to prove that this is our territory. Ah! Ming Feng laughed out loud. The war chariot suddenly let out a loud roar. What is student Ming Feng trying to do? He is trying to use the war chariot to hit Wang Xian's chariot. The war chariot he is sitting on is a war chariot. Even a tank is not as tough as the war chariot he is sitting on. The surrounding students were shocked and looked at him in astonishment. So this is the proof. Mu Zidao's face was filled with mockery as he watched obviously Feng get into the war chariot and started up. Wang Xian stood at the side and didn't say anything. He looked at him coldly. Boom. At this moment the war chariot emitted a faint golden glow. With a starting distance of at least 300 to 400 kilometers, the war chariot headed straight for the RV at the side. The puppet war chariot was only half the height of the RV, but its terrifying hardness and strength directly cut the RV in half at the waist. There was no trace on the puppet war chariot. Mo Qinglong, who had been sitting in the RV, had a hint of killing intent in his eyes. However, the Dragon King didn't ask him to make a move, and he didn't make a move either. However, Tiango, who was lying on the chariot, had a fierce look in his eyes as he slowly walked out. Chapter 7:13. Chapter 7:13. Boom. A rumbling sound was heard at the entrance of the school. At this moment, more than 1,000 people had gathered around the school. Wang Xian's RV was smashed in the middle, causing everyone to gasp. They looked at the beast-like puppet chariot in shock. Obviously, student Feng is too cool. Wow, I love him to death. HMPH, this is the difference. That Wang Xian doesn't have any ability to fight back. The two of them are not on the same level. He is also a popular figure in the school. He is not even worthy of carrying Mu Zidao's shoes. The excited voices of the first and second year girls could be heard from the surroundings. The third and fourth year students sighed helplessly. Wang Xian was indeed not on the same level as the celestial sect. He could not be compared to them at all. There was nothing they could do after being humiliated today. Roar woof woof. At this moment, the sound of dogs barking was suddenly heard. It caused the people around to be slightly surprised. A golden figure of about 2 meters in size was standing at the spot where the RV was split open. His fierce gaze was staring at the obvious wind and the puppet chariot that he was sitting on. However, everyone in the surroundings ignored him after a glance. How is it? Is this our territory now? If you don't dare to spar with me, then lower your head and admit your mistake. Mu Zidao stared at Wang Xian mockingly. From the beginning to the end, he didn't put Wang Xian in his eyes. So what if he was at least at the dance stage? The Dragon Gate of the pugilistic world and the Dragon King? What the hell was that? Compared to him who was at the half-step to the infant stage and the Ming Wang immortal sect, what was that? You still have the right to spar with me. Wang Xian swept his gaze across Mu Zidao and Ming Feng who was sitting in the puppet station. A hint of coldness flashed across his eyes. Tian, teach them a lesson. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly as he said faintly. Ha. Wang Xian's words made Mu Zidao and Ming Feng's eyebrows twitch. The people around them were also stunned. However, at this moment, roar roar roar. The heavenly dog's low roar was heard. Following that, before anyone could react, a terrifying aura was emitted from its body. Woof woof. It roared and pounced on Ming Feng who was sitting in the puppet chariot. What? Ming Feng was stunned. When he saw the aura of the heavenly dog, his expression changed. The white sword in the chariot was pulled out. However, at this moment, the heavenly dog landed on the puppet chariot. It raised its paw and waved it. Boom. The entire chariot was torn apart. Ming Feng's expression changed as the sword in his hand shone with a white light. However, a dog claw swung over once again. The terrifying power caused a hint of despair to appear on Ming Feng's face. The long sword in his hand flew to the side. The clothes on his upper body were torn apart, and 3 wounds appeared on his chest. A mocking and disdainful look appeared in the heavenly dog's eyes. It opened its mouth and bit towards Ming Feng's shoulder. Ming Feng's face was instantly filled with cold sweat as the light energy on his body trembled. However, in an instant, the dog's mouth directly bit onto his shoulder, causing the light on his body to immediately dim. Ah! Ming Feng let out a blood-curdling scream as he swung his head upwards. With a wave of his dog claws, the clothes on his lower body were instantly shattered into strips of cloth. 3 more wounds appeared on his body. With a sweep of his tail, Ming Feng's body smashed towards Mu Zidao. In an instant, from the moment the heavenly dog's attack ended, only an instant had passed. Everyone in the surroundings widened their eyes in disbelief. Ming Feng, an elite disciple of the immortal sect, was actually toyed with by a dog. He didn't have the slightest bit of strength left to resist. How was this possible? Ah, beast. When Mu Zidao saw Ming Feng smashing towards him, his expression changed greatly and he immediately caught it. However, at this moment the heavenly dog moved. It waved its claws and clawed towards Mu Zidao. Go to hell. Mu Zidao's expression changed greatly. The long sword in his hand instantly turned pure white. It was extremely dazzling as it slashed towards the heavenly dog. Bang! The long sword collided with Tiango's claws, producing a sound of collision. A trace of disdain flashed in Tiango's eyes. With a slight force, the spirit sword directly flew towards the sky. With a wave of its dog claws, a wound appeared on Mu Zidao's body from top to bottom. His clothes also instantly split open. Tiango repeated the action of attacking with obvious wind. Its body leaped and bit towards Mu Zidao's shoulder. No, no. Mu Zidao's face was filled with fear. He waved his fist and wanted to smash towards Tiango's head. Tiango's eyes revealed ridicule. He didn't dodge at all and continued to bite towards Mu Zidao's shoulder. When Mu Zidao's fist landed on the dog's head, it instantly became numb. At this moment he felt that he had ascended into the sky. Hiss. With a wave of the dog's paw, his elegant and unworldly clothes had already formed into strips. It couldn't cover his body at all. Peng. His body landed beside Ming Feng. Infant tear, it's actually an infant tear creature. Ming Feng had recovered at this moment. He raised his head and shouted loudly with a face full of shock. When the heavenly dog heard Ming Feng's cry, it raised its head slightly. Its eyes were filled with human-like contempt. It slowly walked towards the two people like a dog king. Don't kill us. When Mu Zidao saw the heavenly dog walking over, his face revealed a terrified expression. The disdain and contempt in the eyes of the heavenly dog became even stronger. It walked over and waved its paw, drawing 3 bloody marks on their buttocks and buttocks. Following that, the heavenly dog quickened its pace and ran to Wang Xian's side. It bit its tail and spun around him. Not bad. Wang Xian stroked Tian's dog head in admiration and praised him. Woof woof. Tiango stuck out his tongue and licked it. He barked and raised his head slightly as if he was very proud. Gulp. I saw something. How is this possible? How is this possible? The people around them were in disbelief, especially the girls who were in their first year and second year. They looked at the scene in front of them in disbelief. What did they just see? A dog had completely defeated Mu Zidao and Ming Feng. He had easily trampled on their Prince Charming with his dog paws. He was the invincible disciple of the immortal sect in their hearts. Meanwhile, that dog was wagging its tail in front of Wang Xian. The young man whom they looked down on and called unworthy of Mu Zidao and Ming Feng carrying their shoes. Mu Zidao and Ming Feng are actually inferior to his dog. One of the girls widened her eyes as she looked at this scene in a daze. The huge contrast. Just as they were about to watch the so-called famous person being easily crushed by Mu Zidao and student Xian Feng, they were easily killed by the opponent's dog. The two of them looked like they were in a sorry state and everyone's eyes were filled with shock. Chapter 7:14. Chapter 7:14. You can only leave after I repair my car after I come back from my meal. Otherwise. At this moment Wang Xian's voice sounded. Everyone slowly turned their heads and looked at him. Especially the girls who were in their first year and second year. Their eyes were filled with disbelief and shock. Their expressions were very interesting. Otherwise, you guys will become its dinner. As Wang Xian spoke, he patted the dog's head gently. Woof woof. The dog turned its head and barked. Its gaze was fixed on Mu Zidao and Ming Feng who didn't have much clothes on the ground. Once again, it walked over arrogantly with its head held high. No, don't come over. Let's fix the car. Don't come over. Mu Zidao clearly saw Tiango walking over, and his face revealed a terrified expression. It was an infant tear dog. If this dog really wanted to kill them, it would be a piece of cake. They simply didn't have the ability to resist. Tiango completely ignored them. He slowly walked over and lifted his leg. The two people's bodies immediately trembled. Tiango opened his huge mouth and directly bit on their thighs, dragging them toward the crashed RV. Ah! The terrified screams came from Mu Zidao and Ming Feng. Their bodies were trembling. Their naked bodies were rubbing against the ground. When everyone saw this scene, the corners of their mouths couldn't help but twitch. The girls who were in their first year and second year covered their faces. This was their Prince Charming. He was even worse than Wang Xian's dog. Their expressions changed drastically. In their hearts, the Prince Charming was not as good as a dog. It was easy to imagine how upset they felt. Senior Wang Xian is Senior Wang Xian. He is simply too awesome. Haha, he is too awesome, too awesome. That dog is so strong. The disciples of the celestial sect were actually knocked down to the ground without any ability to resist. You still want to spar with student Wang Xian? Just like what student Wang Xian said, you guys don't even have the qualifications. You can't even defeat the dog raised by student Wang Xian. Yet you still want to provoke student Wang Xian? Is this your Prince Charming? Ah, I'm dying of laughter. His body is quite white. When the surrounding juniors and seniors saw this scene, the grievances in their hearts were completely released. They looked at Mu Zidao and Ming Feng, who were trembling as they stood up. Meanwhile, the heavenly dog sat on the ground and stared at them. It was obvious that it was supervising them to fix the car. Mu Zidao and Ming Feng, who were covered in dirt and injuries, were trembling as they looked at the damaged RV. Their hearts were trembling as they clenched their fists tightly. However, they didn't dare to show it at this moment. There was a terrifying dog staring at them from behind. Infant stage. His fucking dog was actually in the infant stage. Then what was the strength of that Wang Xian? What kind of power did he have? A hint of fear flashed across their eyes when they thought of this. Let's go and eat. Wang Xian said to Wang Dahai and the rest who were beside him. Boss, you are too awesome. Yes, it's Wang Xian. Wang Dahai and the rest of the students were also shocked. They nodded quickly and followed behind Wang Xian. A year ago, the 4 second-generation rich kids were also looking for trouble with Wang Xian. The consequences were tragic. A year later, the second-generation rich kids were replaced by elite disciples of the celestial sect. The consequences were still the same. One of the students sighed slowly. His eyes were filled with shock as he looked at Wang Xian. Wang Xian had left. From the beginning to the end, he did not make a move. Everyone did not know his strength, but they knew that he was definitely very, very strong. Mu Zidao and Ming Feng, 2 powerful disciples of the celestial sect, were not qualified to spar with him in his eyes. His dog had completely defeated the 2 of them. It was obvious who was superior. The one who was not even qualified to carry his shoes was not Wang Xian, but a high and mighty disciple of the celestial sect. Everyone looked at Wang Xian's figure and thought to themselves. He was still as mysterious and powerful as ever. The girls who were in their first year and second year looked at their Prince Charming, who was standing beside the RV with his ragged body. He no longer had the haughty temperament of a prince. He was not even comparable to a dog. On the contrary, the figure that had left became even taller. When they heard the ridicule of the surrounding seniors, their faces turned red. As for the girl who had been updating on the forum, her face was extremely pale. Many people knew her name on the school forum. She could already imagine the mocking gazes and gazes of the people in the future. She stood there stiffly and looked at her 2 miserable bodies. She held the phone tightly in her hand. Boss, you are simply too strong. A dog has the strength of an infant stage. Oh my god, I'm worse than a dog. Walking on the ancient street, Wang Dahai said excitedly to Wang Xian. Dahai, if you are worse than a dog, then what are we? You have already joined the celestial sect. A classmate beside him said with a bitter expression. Comparing people is so infuriating. Wang Dahai shook his head and said with a dispirited expression. What kind of shop is that? At this moment, Wang Xian looked at the shops around him in astonishment. Puppet shop, fitness shop, martial arts book shop, martial arts club. Wang Dahai's gaze swept across the shops and said, these are all shops opened by the immortal sect. There are puppets, elixirs, secret cultivation manuals, and teaching martial arts. When the immortal sects merged with the world, they also needed money to buy mobile phones, computers, and other daily necessities. Hence, some immortal sects opened their shops and sold some things to ordinary people. Wang Xian nodded his head slightly. Although the immortal sects were good, many things were not as powerful as they were in the modern world. For example, mobile phones, computers, kitchen utensils for daily use, refrigerators, and a series of other items. They needed to purchase all of them. This was a huge expense for them. Hence, Immortal Sect opened a shop to sell elixirs, dregs and medicinal liquids that were not even level 1. Although they were useless to martial artists, they were of great use to ordinary people. If they wanted to, they had to spend money to buy them. The changes are really fast. Wang Xian sighed slightly. Yes, in a year's time, our world has undergone tremendous changes. Wang Dahai also sighed slightly. All of you wait here for a moment. I'll go and call my girlfriend. When he arrived at the entrance of the first-grade pavilion, Wang Xian said to Wang Dahai and the rest. Then he walked to the Divine Dragon Clinic at the side. Sun Lingxiu stood at the side with a smile on her face. She was now half a step away from becoming an immortal. Her body exuded a holy aura that made people feel ashamed of themselves. Her perfect figure was dressed in simple white clothes. Lingxiu, come and eat. Wang Xian waved at Sun Lingxiu. All right, Xiao Xian. Xiao Hong, come and eat too. Sun Lingxiu nodded and said to the bloody miracle doctor at the side. Yes, it's master. The miracle doctor immediately walked out with a big smile on his face. Oh, Wang Xian, this is your girlfriend. Isn't your girlfriend? When Sun Lingxiu walked out, Wang Dahai and the rest were dumbfounded. Chapter 7:15. Chapter 7:15. Hello, I'm Sun Lingxiu. Sun Lingxiu saw the shocked expressions of the students behind Wang Xian and greeted them with a faint smile. Sun Lingxiu's smile was like an angel's smile, causing everyone behind Wang Xian to be stunned. Ah, hello, sister-in-law. Everyone nodded their heads and greeted enthusiastically. The girlfriend of little fairy that you guys are talking about should be Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue. I'm one too. In fact, there is another one. Perhaps there will be another one soon. Sun Lingxiu smiled slyly as she held Wang Xian's arm. This? Everyone was completely stunned. They knew that Guan Shuqing was Wang Xian's girlfriend. They were not sure if Lan Qingyue was his girlfriend. Now, another one had appeared and there was even one or two of them. Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue were the goddesses of Jianghu City University. In terms of beauty, they felt that the beauty in front of them was even more beautiful than Lan Qingyue and Guan Shuqing. Awesome. In an instant, the way everyone looked at Wang Xian changed. Wang Dahai kept giving him a thumbs up with a face full of exclamations. All right, let's go in. Wang Xian rubbed Sun Lingxiu's hand, causing her face to turn red instantly. She glared at him. Wang Xian chuckled and let her tease him. Welcome. As they walked into the shop, the welcoming voices of the guests could be heard. The two guests at the door were obviously new and didn't know Wang Xian. Boss, you're here. It was the cashier at the front desk who recognized Wang Xian and said in surprise. Where's Manager Huang? Wang Xian nodded and asked her. I'll go get Manager Huang. The cashier immediately walked toward the back office. Soon Manager Huang walked out. His eyes flickered when he saw Wang Xian. He walked over with a smile and said, Boss, you're finally back. Yes. Wang Xian nodded. He had not been in the shop for more than a year and the staff had changed a lot. Prepare the largest private room and send some dishes over. Wang Xian said to Manager Huang directly. Boss, the largest private room has been reserved. Manager Huang was slightly stunned when he heard Wang Xian's words. He said with a frown. Tell them about it. If it doesn't work, give them some discounts. Dahai, bring them in first. You know the largest private room. Wang Xian patted Wang Dahai's shoulder. All right. Wang Dahai nodded and waved to the students behind him with a smile. Then he walked upstairs. Boss, I'm afraid it won't work. At this moment, Manager Huang suddenly said. Huh? Wang Xian raised his eyebrows and looked at Manager Huang. Boss, the people who booked the seats today are from the Puppet Immortal sect. Manager Huang frowned and said. No matter who the other party is, find an excuse and tell the kitchen to prepare some dishes as soon as possible. Wang Xian said directly to Manager Huang. Then he brought Sun Lingxiu upstairs. Manager Huang opened his mouth and revealed an embarrassed expression. He walked into the office with a gloomy face. No one knew what he was thinking about. Xiao Xian, Manager Huang's expression has changed. At this moment, Sun Lingxiu suddenly said to Wang Xian. Yes, it has changed. Sun Lingxiu was a light attribute cultivator. She could see many things from a person's eyes. With Wang Xian's strength, he also noticed some changes in Manager Huang. However, Manager Huang has followed me for more than 2 years. As long as there are no mistakes in principle, He will be in charge of this restaurant. Okay. The two of them walked into the private room and sat at the dining table. They started chatting with their classmates. They talked about the interesting things that had happened in the past year and the disciples of the Mingwang celestial sect. When the dishes were served, everyone was very happy. Bang bang. Boss. At around 8 o'clock, Manager Huang knocked on the door and walked in. What's the matter? Wang Xian looked at Manager Huang and asked. Boss, the disciples of the celestial puppet sect are here. There are more of them and they insisted on having this private room. Manager Huang frowned and said to Wang Xian. Didn't you explain it to them? Wang Xian frowned and the smile on his face disappeared. Manager Huang, have I made my decision? Tell your boss to hurry up. At this moment, an impatient voice came from outside. The door was pushed open and two young men in ancient costumes stood at the door. There was a hint of impatience on their faces. All right. Master Ping, please wait for a moment. I'll make it available for you immediately. Manager Huang hurriedly said to the young man outside in a flattering manner. He turned his head to look at Wang Xian and said, Boss, they are from the Immortal sect. I will get someone to check the accounts of the time I left for more than a year. If there are no problems, I will give you a few 100,000. If there are any problems. Wang Xian interrupted Manager Huang and looked at him coldly. Now you are no longer the manager here. Get out. Boss. Manager Huang's expression changed drastically when he heard Wang Xian's words. His expression changed drastically as he turned to look at the young man outside. When Wang Xian saw that Manager Huang was actually asking for help from the young man at the door, his eyes turned even colder. I say, you are the boss of this restaurant, right? The two young men raised their eyebrows slightly when they heard what was said. They stared at Wang Xian as he walked in. Speak. Wang Xian looked at them and said coldly. We are the disciples of the celestial puppet sect. As the two of them spoke, they raised their heads slightly and revealed a superior expression. Boss, they are from the Immortal sect. We. Manager Huang squeezed out a smile from the side. It was obvious that the world had changed in his opinion. Currently, the world belonged to the Immortal sect. The reason why he dared to disobey Wang Xian was because he had a good relationship with the disciples of the puppet Immortal sect. He didn't know that Wang Xian was the Dragon King of the Dragon Gate. In fact, none of the first-grade pavilion's employees knew about it. They only knew that the boss had great influence in Jianghu City. However, that was in the past. Things were different now. Now, the Mingwang Immortal sect and the Puppet Immortal sect were the kings of Jianghu City. This is my restaurant. Wang Xian said to them coldly. Haha, interesting. When the two young men heard Wang Xian's words, they didn't get angry. Instead, they smiled and walked towards Wang Xian. Do you know whose territory this is? A young man dressed in ancient costumes smiled and stared at Wang Xian mockingly. It was the same sentence again. Whose territory is this? Whose territory is the current Jianghu City? This was the second time Wang Xian heard this sentence from a disciple of the celestial sect. It seemed that he, the Dragon King of the Dragon Gate, had been away from this place for too long. This is not your territory. Get out. Wang Xian looked at the two young men and said expressionlessly. Kid, you're acting too big. How dare you chase us out? The two young men stared at Wang Xian coldly. Today, get out of this private room immediately and prepare some dishes for us to serve. That's right. As they spoke, the corners of their lips curled up slightly. Let the few beauties in the room serve the dishes for us. Chapter 7:16. Chapter 7:16. Get the beauties in the room to serve us the dishes. The two young men in ancient costumes stared at Wang Xian with a look of disdain and said in an overbearing manner. Boom. However, at this moment, the bloody miracle doctor who was sitting at the side started to move. His hands landed on the dantian of the two young men in ancient costume without any hesitation. The powerful force caused them to fly out in an instant. The two young men who were still acting cool a second ago, flew out in the next second. The arrogant smiles on their faces had yet to disappear when their faces turned stiff and they vomited blood from their mouths. You want my master to serve you food? The bloody miracle doctor's cold voice was heard. Bang! The two young men fell heavily on the wall with a loud bang. Boss? They are the disciples of the celestial sect. Manager Huang was stunned for a moment before he shouted at Wang Xian in a low voice. Who is it? How dare you beat up the people of our celestial sect? You are courting death. At this moment, 7 to 8 people came in from outside. They looked at the 2 young men in ancient costumes who were lying on the ground with a cold expression. Their eyes were fixed on Wang Xian and the rest. They moved their bodies and were about to attack. Cripple them all, Wang Xian said with a solemn face. All right, a bunch of trash at the Xiantian level dares to be impudent here. A look of disdain appeared on the bloody miracle doctor's face. Now that his strength had reached the half-step infant stage, it was a piece of cake for him to deal with a bunch of Xiantian experts. Boom, boom, boom. Ah. The bloody miracle doctor turned into a blood-red shadow and instantly screams of pain could be heard. The disciples of the puppet immortal sect widened their eyes in shock. Their Dantian had been crippled. They dared to attack the disciples of the puppet immortal sect, especially here in Jianghu City. They were simply courting death. Boss, you actually... Manager Huang's face was also filled with fear. His face was instantly covered in cold sweat. Throw them out. Wang Xian stood up slowly and said to the bloody miracle doctor. All right. The bloody miracle doctor nodded obediently. You actually dared to cripple us. We are the disciples of the puppet immortal sect. You guys are done for. You guys are done for. The group of young men were still filled with disbelief as they shouted loudly. Kiki, puppet immortal sect. I've been wanting to beat you guys up for a long time after seeing you guys flaunting your might. The godly doctor of the bloody figures smiled sinisterly and immediately tied them up. Dahai, you guys can eat here first. I need to settle some matters first. Wang Xian said to Wang Dahai and the rest. He gave Manager Huang a cold glance before walking down. Sun Lingxiu also smiled at Wang Dahai and the rest before following them down. When the students saw this scene, their faces turned stiff. Dahai, Wang Xian is actually crippled. He crippled a disciple of the celestial sect. Will something happen to him? In the room, the students looked left and right with worry on their faces. Nothing will happen to him. All of you don't know Wang Xian's strength. Nothing will happen to him. Wang Dahai's heart was beating fast, but he still said with a smile. Wang Xian was a little impatient with what he had encountered today. He was also very disappointed with Manager Huang. The word whose territory made him feel very interesting. He took out his cell phone and dialed Elder Qin's number. Little brother Wang Xian. Elder Qin was a little excited when he received Wang Xian's call. He asked tentatively. Elder Qin, sorry to bother you. Wang Xian revealed a smile on his face. No, no, no. I'm already very happy that little brother Wang Xian didn't forget about me. Little brother, you have disappeared for more than a year. When are you returning to Jianghu City? Elder Qin said loudly in a carefree manner. I'm in Jianghu City now. You're already in Jianghu City? Where is little brother Wang Xian? If you're free, come and meet me, this old man. Okay. Wang Xian smiled and pondered for a moment. Elder Qin, I'll have to trouble you with one thing. Send a few accountants to the first-grade pavilion now. Also, Elder Qin, please inform all the martial artists and aristocratic families in Jianghu City. I'll prepare a Dragon Gate banquet tomorrow. Dragon Gate banquet. Elder Qin was slightly shocked when he heard Wang Xian's words. The Dragon Gate banquet would be held for all the martial artists and aristocratic families in Jianghu City. All right, brother Wang Xian, don't worry. Leave it to me. As long as the martial artists and aristocratic families are still in Jianghu City, I will give them an invitation card. If the location is at Old Man Shui's 5-star hotel, how about it? Elder Qin said loudly. Yes, that's fine. Boss Qin, I'll see you tomorrow. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. It's been a long time since we last met. The accountant will be in the first-grade pavilion in 20 minutes at most. Wang Xian hung up the phone and revealed a smile on his face. Beside him, Manager Huang's face turned slightly pale when he heard Wang Xian's words. His eyes were sparkling. Dragon King's banquet. In a villa in Jianghu City, Boss Qin sat on a chair and muttered, the current Jianghu City belongs to the 2 immortal sections. The Dragon King of Dragon Gate has returned. Perhaps the miracle will continue. Elder Qin knocked on the table and stood up immediately to prepare for the Dragon Gate banquet tomorrow night. The Dragon King had returned. The King of River City had returned. Wang Xian sat in his office and pondered. Manager Huang didn't come in and left the first-grade pavilion with a guilty conscience. Wang Xian didn't stop him. An ordinary person wouldn't be able to escape. If not for Manager Huang's meritorious service, he would have been lying here long ago. With the appearance of the 9 cauldrons, some ingredients with spiritual energy are already available. Although the first-grade pavilion is still the best restaurant in Jianghu City, it is already very ordinary in the entire Wuxia. Furthermore, there is no need to keep this first-grade pavilion open. Wang Xian looked at his computer and clicked on the messages. Since he could open a shop in the 9 cauldrons world to earn money, he might as well start his own business. It would be a profitable business. Wang Xian smiled. Alchemy and crafting. He could open an alchemy and crafting shop. He could only undertake the crafting of elixirs above level 6 and spirit weapons above level 11. To Wang Xian this was a huge profit. It was even more lucrative than going to the immortal sect to rob. Give the employees here a repatriation fee and close the first-grade pavilion. Wang Xian made a decision in his heart. Just as Wang Xian was thinking, the accountant sent by Old Qin arrived. Wang Xian asked them to check the accounts of the entire first-grade pavilion. If Manager Huang was clean, he would give him a sum of money. However, if he was greedy during the 1-year period when he was away, he would make him cough up all the money. The 4 accountants kept checking the accounts. In less than half an hour, all the accounts were out. There was a huge problem. Wang Xian shook his head slowly. He made a phone call to Old Qin and asked him to handle Manager Huang's matters. There might be a lot of people coming to the Dragon Gate banquet tomorrow. I wonder how many martial artists still respect him as the Dragon Gate? I wonder if there will be other people coming tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to it. A smile appeared on Wang Xian's face. Sun Lingxiu, who was at the side, walked over and gave him a gentle massage on his shoulder. Chapter 7:17. Chapter 7:17. At this moment in the Yellow Cauldron region. Yellow Sky City was one of the 3 major cities in the Yellow Cauldron region. It was also a city under the jurisdiction of the Yellow Sky Immortal Sect. The entire city was like a luxurious ancient capital in ancient times. Large red lanterns hung in front of the ancient buildings. At night, the entire city was filled with a unique style. In a luxurious restaurant in Huangtian City, the 3-story restaurant was packed with people. Sect Master Xiaoyu, Elder Fan, where have you been for more than a year? We've been worried to death. That's right. It's been almost a year and a half since we last saw each other. On the 3rd floor of the restaurant, more than a dozen people were sitting at a table. In the center, Xiaoyu and Elder Fan were chatting with the people of the Thorn faction with smiles on their faces. Xiaoyu had once been the sect leader of the Thorn sect, and Elder Fan had stayed in the Thorn sect for more than 10 years, so their relationship was already very deep. Therefore, the first thing they came to see was the disciples of the Thorn sect. Sect leader Tang, how are you doing in the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect now? Xiaoyu asked with a smile on her face. Not bad. Back then, we cultivated under the spiritual energy waterfall for a period of time, and many disciples broke through to the Xiantian realm. Now, I've also reached the half-step Dan realm, so I'm in charge of some things in the Immortal sect. It's not bad. Sect Master Tang smiled. Now, our cultivation speed is much faster than before. We can be considered to be running errands for the Immortal sect. Xiaoyu and Elder Fan nodded. They also knew that Xiantian experts were very common in the Immortal sect. If they were not people from the real world, the Immortal sect might not even accept them. That's good. If you have anything to tell me. Xiaoyu said with a smile. Oh right, when the Sui clan and the Xiao clan come over later, Elder Sui and Elder Xiao have already reached the half-step infant realm. They can be considered experts. They are doing quite well in the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect. A middle-aged man at the side said with a smile, especially Xiao Ran of the Xiao clan. He has given our people in the real world a boost in face. An 18-year-old expert at the peak of the Dan realm is also the best in the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect. I heard that Xiao Ran obtained a good result in the monthly competition of the disciples of the Immortal sect today. Is that so? If Xiao Ran can be nurtured by the Immortal sect, he can at least become an infant stage expert in the future. Xiaoyu nodded. When he thought of his brother's disciple, a smile appeared on his face. I have nothing to say if I lose. What? Are you still not convinced? If you are not convinced, we can fight again now. I'll defeat you next time. Haha, alright little guy, I came to find you for no other reason. The wind green pill in your hand can't be used. I'll buy it. 8,000 spirit stones. 8,000? I won't sell the wind green pill. I'll only exchange it for fire attribute pills or pills that can increase one's cultivation. Kid, it's useless even if you take the pills. I advise you to sell them to me. So what if I don't sell them? Then I'll have to have a good spar with you in the future. Ha, Xiaoran, you can't use medicinal pills either. I advise you to sell them. A foreign brat who doesn't know how to adapt to the situation, how can you survive? Everyone, don't make things difficult for my Xiaoran. In the future, when I refine some medicinal pills, I'll definitely give them to all of you. HMP, it's just you. You're already over 100 years old. Refining a grade 5 medicinal pill is already difficult. When you can refine a grade 6 medicinal pill, this young master will have broken through. Xiaoran, I'm warning you today. Sell the medicinal pills to me and we can talk about anything. If you don't sell them, wait and see in the future. At this moment, Xiao Yu and the others who were sitting on the third floor heard the voices of conversation coming from below through the windows. It's Xiaoran and Elder Xiao. Sect Master Tang was slightly stunned and said with a frown. Xiao Yu frowned slightly and immediately went to the window to look down. He saw a group of young men and women standing in front of the group of people from the Xiao clan and Sui clan. Those young men and women exuded strong confidence and pride as they stared at Xiaoran. Xiaoran's expression was somewhat awkward as he stared at them with a face full of anger. Good, you don't agree, right? Very good, then we'll see what happens in the future. The young man who was only half a meter in front of Xiaoran stared at him. When he saw that Xiaoran did not agree, his face revealed an ice-cold expression. Let's go. There's still plenty of time in the future. We'll teach this kid a good lesson in the future. A long-haired young man with a face full of smiles as he hugged a sword and said to the people beside him. There were 8 or 9 people in the surroundings. One of the young men was holding a game console in his hand. He kept his head down as he played games and didn't pay attention to the things around him. Beside him stood a classical beauty who would occasionally look at the young man playing games. The surrounding young men were all smiling as they watched this scene. After the long-haired young man finished speaking, he coldly snorted and turned around, preparing to leave. This caused Xiao Quanshan to sigh helplessly. Xiaoran's talent was terrifying, even surpassing the disciples of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect. However, they were outsiders after all. Not only did the disciples of the Immortal sect reject them, the entire Immortal sect also rejected them. After all, they were not on the same side. How dare you bully my brother's disciple? Xiao Yu stood on the windowsill as she watched this scene. An angry expression appeared on her face. Her gaze swept past the group of youths and landed on the fellow who was playing a game. It was very familiar and left a deep impression on her. A trace of coldness appeared on Xiao Yu's face. Her body moved and she directly jumped down from the window on the 3rd floor. You guys stop right there. Xiao Yu shouted loudly and directly jumped in front of the group of young men. Her cold gaze swept over them. Is it so easy to bully my brother's disciple? Everyone below was stunned. The members of the Xiao clan of the Sui clan who were standing at the side, opened their mouths in shock. Martial ant. Xiaoran was also stunned. He looked at Xiao Yu with a face full of shock and immediately walked over to call out. Did these guys bully you? Today Martial Ant will take revenge for you. The corners of Xiao Yu's mouth curled up slightly as he looked at the young man who was playing the game seriously. His eyes were filled with mockery. Martial Ant. The most outstanding disciples of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect were slightly stunned as they stared at Xiao Yu in bewilderment. A little girl is actually Xiaoran's martial ant. How interesting. The eyes of the young man who had been talking to Xiaoran earlier were filled with ridicule. He held a golden longsword in his hand and had very few eyebrows. When he smiled, he gave off a feeling of ridicule. Interesting, isn't it? There will be more interesting things later. Now, immediately apologize to my martial nephew. In the future, if I find out that you dare to bully him, don't blame this great ant for being impolite. Xiao Yu coldly swept his gaze across the 7 or 8 of them and berated. Haha, interesting. A little girl actually dares to make a ruckus in front of us. Do you know who we are? Ah. The youth holding the golden sword stared at Xiao Yu with a face full of laughter, his face full of ridicule. Chapter 7:18. Chapter 7:18. I don't care who you are. If you don't apologize, I'll teach you a lesson today. Xiao Yu waved his arm and a black bone whip appeared in his hand. He stood in the middle of the road with a cold gaze, sweeping his gaze over the people around him. This scene stunned everyone around him. Yellow Heaven City was very close to the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect. It was only 4,000 to 5,000 meters away. Basically, apart from the stewards of the Immortal sect and the disciples who worked hard in cultivation, most of the disciples of the Immortal sect lived in Yellow Heaven City. It was the busiest time of the night and there were a lot of people around. The disciples of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect looked at Xiao Yu, who was standing in the middle of the road, in astonishment. Where did this wild girl come from? Judging from her clothes, she should be from the real world. This wild girl actually dares to provoke Kong Leshan, Tang Jiming and the others. Hey, the Crown Prince is here too, the one who has his head lowered and is holding a game console. The Crown Prince is here too? Seriously, this wild girl is too bold. She came to our Yellow Heaven Immortal sect to cause trouble. Isn't she just looking for trouble? It seems that this girl wants to avenge one of her juniors. She even wants to challenge Kong Leshan and the others. How ignorant. These young men are the most elite disciples of our Yellow Heaven Immortal sect. It seems that other than the people ranked 2nd and 4th, more than half of the top 10 disciples of the Immortal sect are here. Most importantly, the Crown Prince is also here. The surrounding disciples and family members of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect looked at them and pointed at them as they spoke. If it weren't for the fact that Xiao Yu was a pretty little girl, they might have already said some nasty words. Little girl, I think you need to be taught a lesson. The young man with the golden sword in his hand saw Xiao Yu take out the bone whip, and his face turned cold as he said with a sullen face. Fight, fight, fight. The boss is dying. At this moment, the youth who was playing the game console pressed the button excitedly and said in a low voice. However, the few of them were already used to hearing this. Pitch, I see that you guys need to be taught a lesson. And you, this fellow. Xiao Yu snorted coldly. The bone whip in his hand moved and directly attacked the golden sword youth. You're courting death, you little girl who needs to be taught a lesson. The golden sword young man's face went cold, and the golden long sword in his hand instantly unsheathed, directly slashing towards the bone whip. There were even numerous sharp wind blades surrounding the long sword. You scram? Xiao Yu's eyes revealed a trace of disdain, and the bone whip shook, causing the young man who hadn't even reached the infant stage to have a huge change in expression. The bone whip lashed onto the long sword, causing his arm to instantly go numb as it directly coiled around his arm. Xiao Yu lightly pulled. Ah! The golden sword young man let out a miserable cry as his body directly crashed onto the ground. N? The young man and the girl who were prepared to watch the show at the side were stunned, and their expressions changed. Stop. The gazes of the two young men were grave as the long swords in their hands slashed out one by one towards Xiao Yu. I'm scared. The bone whip shook and the demonic chi on it instantly shattered the wind sword. The bone whip was like a venomous snake, slashing out numerous phantoms. In an instant, the bone whip coiled around their legs. Feather lightly pulled. Bang bang. The two fell heavily to the ground. With Feather's current half-step immortal god strength, these so-called heaven-chosen disciples of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect were completely crushed. They couldn't even see the shadow of Xiao Yu's attack. You people still want to teach me a lesson. Xiao Yu's face revealed a look of disdain. With a wave of the bone whip in his hand, he instantly attacked the young man who was playing the game console. Pa! The young man who was holding the game console with both hands was instantly stunned. Ah, I'm about to clear the level. The boss is about to die. Damn it. The young man exploded in anger as he stood beside Xiao Yu. The girl beside him was also stunned as she opened the fan in her hand. How dare you disturb Ling Tian's game? The green energy emitted from the fan as the girl stared at Xiao Yu coldly. Not only am I disturbing his game, I want to give him a good beating. The bone whip in Xiao Yu's hand did not stop, and once again swung towards Ling Tian. You dare to disturb me? You're looking for a beating. Ling Tian raised his head with a fierce expression, and the 6 spiritual weapons in his interspatial ring instantly appeared. However, the moment he raised his head and saw Xiao Yu, he could not help but retreat backwards. It's you, witch. He let out a sharp voice as though his anus had been blown open as he stared at Xiao Yu with bloodshot eyes. Little slave, we meet again. Xiao Yu looked at the terrified expression on Feng Lingtian's face and the corners of his mouth curled up, full of mockery. He swung the bone whip in his hand. Fuck. Feng Lingtian could not help but curse. The six-spirit weapon spun rapidly and formed a 3 to 4 meter long wind shield. You actually dare to attack Lingtian? The expression of the girl beside him changed slightly. With a wave of the fan in her hand, a wind attribute fan shot towards Xiao Yu. Get out of my way. Xiao Yu waved his arm, and with a wave of the bone whip in his hand, the fan in the hands of the girl was sent flying. Little slave, I said that I would beat you up every time I see you. Xiao Yu's voice rang out again. It seems like you are some crown prince of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect. How dare you let your Yellow Heaven Immortal sect bully my martial nephew? You are really looking for a beating. Motherfucker. When Feng Lingtian saw Xiao Yu's bone whip coming at him again, he could not help but raise his eyebrows and grit his teeth. His eyes widened. Which you think I can't beat you? In this 1 year, I have specially cultivated a battle technique that can counter your whip. I will teach you a good lesson today. Teach me a lesson and today I will make your buttocks blossom. Xiao Yu's face revealed a mocking expression as she waved the bone whip in her hand once again. You shut your mouth for this young master. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In an instant, the 6 long swords transformed into thousands of wind swords that shot towards Xiao Yu. Feng Lingtian gritted his teeth and instantly flew 20 meters into the sky. A small trick, just a piece of trash like you. You haven't improved at all. Xiao Yu smiled. Compared to a year ago, Lingtian's strength had increased by quite a bit. However, compared to her improvement, Lingtian hadn't improved at all. A year ago, Xiao Yu's suppression of Lingtian wasn't that strong. At that time, if Lingtian wanted to escape, Xiao Yu wouldn't be able to catch up to him. But today Lingtian was completely crushed. Lingtian, who was filled with fighting spirit, thought that he could take revenge today. Roar! The bone whip in Xiao Yu's hand shook, and a terrifying demonic chi instantly condensed into the ferocious head of a bone dragon. Ping ping ping. The tens of thousands of wind swords were instantly shattered. Xiao Yu leaped, and the bone whip in his hand shot towards Feng Lingtian. The bone whip grew longer. Fuck. Feng Lingtian's face turned black when he saw that his attack, which was almost comparable to a peak-level attack, was shattered. Chapter 719. Chapter 719. That young lady is so powerful. She actually easily defeated Kong Leshan and the others, and she actually fought together with the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince obviously knows that young lady, and he even fought before. Why does he listen to the Crown Prince's words? It seems like he suffered a loss with that young lady. Although this young lady is powerful, but if she wants to defeat our Crown Prince, that's... Fuck, you're hitting my butt again. You demoness, I'll fight to the death with you. On the surrounding streets, a group of Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect disciples and their family members looked on in shock when they saw Xiao Yu instantly defeating Kong Leshan and the others. When they saw that the young girl was actually fighting with their Crown Prince, shock appeared on their faces. Everyone started to discuss. However, before they could finish their words, a miserable voice came from the sky. Everyone widened their eyes as disbelief appeared on their faces. You hit my butt again. This word again is the key. You have to strike it down. A young man below gulped and said in a daze. The Heaven's chosen disciples of the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect who were standing next to Feng Lingtian raised their heads and revealed expressions of shock. This was especially so for the 3 young men and women who were instantly defeated. Their eyes were filled with shock and their expressions were somewhat ugly. This young lady is so strong. Even the Crown Prince was completely suppressed by her. One of the Heaven's chosen disciples opened his mouth slightly. The wind is cold, the water is cold, and the autumn wind is cold. At this moment, Feng Lingtian's voice came from the sky, and the leaves in the sky fell. The green leaves were formed from wind attribute energy, and they rotated slowly, emitting a terrifying attack power. You still have time to use your ultimate move. Xiao Yu looked at Feng Lingtian who was standing in the sky with concentration, and a trace of mockery appeared on the corner of her mouth. Her body moved and she directly charged over with a strong defense. Pa pa pa. The leaves on Xiao Yu's body made a crisp sound as the black bone armor on her body repelled the sharp leaves. Fuck, it's this terrifying defense again. Feng Lingtian looked at Xiao Yu who was charging forward and could not help but twitch his lips. With a wave of his arm, tens of thousands of leaves flew towards Xiaoyu. Shadow Bone Whip. Xiaoyu waved the bone whip in his hand, instantly turning into hundreds of them. Each of them was like a terrifying poisonous snake that spread across a radius of a few thousand meters. Pa. The leaves were easily sent flying. The two bone whips wrapped around Feng Lingtian's body, causing his expression to change drastically. Pa. Ah. A crisp sound rang out on the streets of Yellow Heaven City. The people below could see that Feng Lingtian's pants had been torn to shreds. White flesh was revealed from within. Everyone below was stunned. This was the Crown Prince, their Crown Prince. The Yellow Heaven Immortal sect only had one immortal god expert, which was Feng Lingtian's father, a middle-level immortal. Feng Lingtian was the Crown Prince of the entire Yellow Heaven Immortal sect. But now their Crown Prince had been beaten up by a young girl, and it was even a whip. This. How many times have I told you not to hit me there? You. I can't afford to offend you, can I not hide from you? Feng Lingtian's face was extremely red. He touched his back and felt traces of bulging blood as he gritted his teeth. Xiaoyu's attack wasn't very heavy, but that was the case. Seeing this girl humiliate and trample on him, Feng Lingtian felt like he wanted to die. He was the Crown Prince of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect, the most monstrous heaven's son in the entire Yellow Cauldron. This was already the second time he had been whipped by this girl. The first time was outside. He warned everyone not to tell anyone about this matter. But now, it was actually inside Yellow Heaven City. Under the gazes of everyone. Feng Lingtian felt extremely aggrieved. He couldn't afford to provoke her, but this young master could hide. Hide. Do you think you can hide? Xiaoyu's face was filled with mockery. If this young master can't hide, then I'll be at your disposal. Feng Lingtian gritted his teeth and moved like a gust of wind. This time your brother isn't here. If you want to capture this young master, you must be dreaming. Evasive Shadow Technique. This is the evasive shadow technique created by sect leader Feng Ying. It can burst forth with a terrifying speed. Once the evasive shadow technique is used, it can disappear without a trace. I didn't expect the Crown Prince to be forced to this extent by a young lady. The crowd below saw Feng Lingtian evading and said in slight shock. Then let's give it a try, little slave. Xiaoyu's face revealed a mocking expression. The bone whip in his hand immediately lengthened as he attacked Feng Lingtian. Haha, little demoness, if you want to catch me, don't even think about it for the rest of your life. Feng Lingtian's figure moved and easily dodged Xiaoyu's bone whip. His sullen mood was finally eased and he began to mock. Is that so? Xiaoyu's expression did not change. He did not retract the bone whip in his hand. With a wave of his arm, a bone whip condensed from demonic chi instantly attacked. Haha, if you can't hit it, are you angry? The bone whip was once again evaded and Feng Lingtian mocked loudly. Xiaoyu's expression turned slightly angry when he heard the taunts. He stretched out his 10 fingers and a bone whip formed from devil chi appeared from his body. It instantly covered an area of 5,000 to 6,000 meters in the sky. Little witch, I'm right here. Come hit me. One had to admit that Feng Lingtian was extremely despicable, as he evaded Xiaoyu's terrifying attacks and laughed out loud. Little slave, you won't be able to escape now, right? Xiaoyu's mouth revealed a crafty smile as she pulled her arm, and the bone whips that had been gathering in the sky and had not been retracted quickly surrounded Feng Lingtian, sealing off all directions. Fuck you crafty demoness. Feng Lingtian's expression changed drastically. The 6 long swords around him slashed towards the bone whips in an attempt to escape. Boom. But in an instant, Feng Lingtian's voice was flung towards the ground. His body landed on the street, instantly causing a crack to appear on the street. Ah, fuck. A painful voice came from her mouth. Xiaoyu landed with a smile on her face, the bone whip in her hand completely wrapping around her body. With a move of her palm, a bone whip formed from devil chi was formed in her hand and she directly struck towards Feng Lingtian's back. Little slave, do you admit defeat? Ah, you which I am a 7-foot-tall man? Pa. Ah, I admit defeat. I admit defeat. Feeling the pain from his back and butt, Feng Lingtian almost cried. Even his father had never hit him like this before and now he had already lost to a woman twice. He had no way of resisting at all. Especially this time, under the watchful eyes of everyone. Who is causing trouble in Yellow Sky City? You're courting death. At this moment, an earth-shattering shout rang out, and a number of Yellow Sky City guards who were flying on swords flew over slowly. Chapter 720. Chapter 720. Who is causing trouble in Yellow Sky City, courting death? The shout attracted the attention of more than half of the people in Yellow Sky City. The experts from Yellow Sky Gate who did not know what was happening on the other streets were also slightly curious, and their eyes revealed a trace of coldness. Yellow Sky City will soon welcome the people in the real world. The issue of public security cannot be neglected. Who dares to cause trouble here? Some of the higher-ups of the immortal sects also moved and flew towards the direction where the guards of the Yellow Sky City were flying towards. In an instant, dozens of experts at the dance stage flew over. Outsiders? They dare to play around here? The group of Yellow Sky City guards who flew over saw the clothes Xiaoyu was wearing and the people on the ground who were trapped by his bone whip. Their eyes flashed with killing intent. Quickly save Ling Tian. Ling Tian is being controlled by this witch. Hurry up and kill her. The scream of a girl could be heard and the girl who was standing beside Feng Lingtian shouted loudly. What? Crown Prince? The group of Yellow Heaven City guards were stunned and immediately looked towards Feng Lingtian. At this moment, Feng Lingtian was in an extremely sorry state and there were many wounds on his buttocks. It was impossible to tell that he was their crown prince. However, the few spirit swords on the side allowed them to recognize that he was their crown prince. Everyone's expression changed drastically, and their faces immediately sank. Attacking the crown prince and you guys are still watching from the surroundings. You deserve to die. The surrounding immortal sect disciples and family members were stunned. They opened their mouths wanting to explain. You dare to attack our crown prince? You're courting death. At this moment, the surrounding immortal sect experts flew over. When they heard the voice, their faces were filled with shock. Terrifying energy instantly erupted from their bodies, and the spirit tools in their hands emitted a sharp light. Everyone, our eldest princess is merely sparring with him. Don't be so anxious. At this moment, the 10 draconids saw the aura of the surrounding people. Their bodies moved, and they stood in a circle around Xiaoyu with smiles on their faces. The aura of an infant realm expert was slowly emitted. Sensing the aura of the 10 draconids, everyone around them was slightly shocked. Their faces revealed a grave expression. The atmosphere instantly froze. The eyes of the experts from the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect around them revealed a cold look as killing intent brewed in the air. What are you all so nervous about? I'm just sparring with this fellow. It's not my first time sparring. Feeling the atmosphere around him, Xiaoyu chuckled. With a flick of his arm, he pulled the bound Feng Lingtian up and stared at him. Are we sparring? Look at how nervous the people here are. This isn't sparring. This is... Pa. Feng Lingtian's face was unyielding as he glared furiously at Xiaoyu. However, before he could finish his words, a bone whip struck his butt. FUCK, is this a spar or a spar? I say, great aunt, I admit defeat, I admit defeat. Being directly whipped on his buttocks in public, Feng Lingtian was so aggrieved that he almost wanted to cry. He immediately begged for mercy. You still dare to hit our crown prince? An elder revealed an angry expression when he saw this scene. He was about to attack. Wait. At this moment, a figure flew over and shouted. Elder Feng. Everyone saw the old man and shouted respectfully. N? Feng Jinqing nodded slowly and looked towards the street. When he saw Feng Lingtian who was tied up by the bone whip, his mouth could not help but twitch. He looked at Xiaoyu with a bitter expression. This lady, we meet again. Hello, old man. Xiaoyu looked at Feng Jinqing's gentle expression and smiled politely at him. This, miss, can you let our crown prince go first? Feng Jinqing looked at Feng Lingtian's body and heaved a sigh of relief. His brows twitched. The surrounding Yellow Heaven City guards and the experts from the immortal sects were stunned when they saw that Elder Feng knew this young lady. They then looked at their crown prince. It looked like his clothes were badly beaten, but in fact they were all superficial wounds. He would be able to recover very quickly without taking medicine. This made them slightly sigh in relief. They stared at them with sparkling eyes. The 10 infant realm experts called the young girl the eldest princess. This young girl's strength was at least at the peak of the infant realm. It was unknown which powerful force she came from. We're just sparring. Don't worry, we won't be too harsh. Xiao Yu smiled a little embarrassedly. After all, the other party's parents had come. The corners of Feng Lingtian's mouth couldn't help but twitch as he stared at Xiao Yu innocently. I say, you witch, I didn't provoke you this time. Why did you hit me? Who said you didn't provoke me? Xiao Yu was a little angry when she heard Feng Lingtian's words and glared at him. Feng Lingtian was shocked and quickly took 2 steps back. He stared at him with vigilance. If you have something to say, let's talk it out properly. A gentleman will use his words but not his hands. The thousands of people around saw the cowardly look of their immortal sect's crown prince and the corner of their mouths twitched. Fusuke, was this still the fearless crown prince that no one dared to provoke in the Yellow Cauldron world? This is my martial nephew, the disciple of my elder brother. Just now, I heard a group of you surrounding him and asking him to sell the Fengqing pill to you. If he doesn't sell it to you, he will be in trouble in the future. I said, you are still the crown prince of some Yellow Heaven immortal sect. If I don't beat you up, who will? Are you bullying my martial nephew? Xiao Yu glared at Feng Lingtian and pointed at Xiao Ran. Feng Lingtian looked over and looked at Xiao Ran. Everyone's gaze was also on Xiao Ran. They knew this youth. He was the only genius disciple who had joined their Yellow Heaven immortal sect in the real world. He was only 18 years old and already had the strength of the Dan stage. He was extremely terrifying. Your brother's disciple, Fuck. Feng Lingtian almost vomited blood when he heard this. He knew what kind of existence the witch's brother was. That was an immortal-level existence. Why do you think your brother's disciple came to his Yellow Heaven immortal sect? I'm Master's in-name disciple. Master said that in the future he would let me explore on my own. Xiao Ran bowed to Feng Lingtian with a strange expression. This ant master of his was too powerful. Elder Feng, who was standing in the sky, was also stunned. The disciple of the Dragon King. A trace of seriousness flashed in Feng Jinqing's eyes. The Dragon King of the Dragon Gate. After the 9 cauldrons appeared in different worlds, all the immortal sects had some understanding of the real world. Most of the immortal sects had also heard of the Dragon Gate and the Dragon King, but after understanding their strength, they basically threw it to the back of their minds. That was because they only knew that the Dragon Gate had about 10 infant realm experts, and the Dragon King was very powerful. But in the eyes of the high and mighty immortal sects, it was not worth mentioning, because only immortals and immortal sects could make them take them seriously. Therefore, the news about the Dragon Gate and the Dragon King did not even reach the immortals and many disciples of the immortal sections. Chapter 721. Chapter 721. Grand Ant. In addition, the Dragon Gate and the Dragon King had disappeared from Jianghu for more than a year. Therefore, almost all the immortal sects had forgotten about this once powerful force in Jianghu. It was as if a big figure would not remember a commoner. However, they were different. When the Dragon King made his move, Feng Jinqing could already confirm that the Dragon King was an immortal-level existence. Therefore, he paid close attention to the Dragon King and the Dragon Gate, and checked all the news about the Dragon King of the Dragon Gate. When he saw all the experiences of the rise of the Dragon Gate and the Dragon King, he couldn't help but sigh slightly. A heaven-gifted genius and a monstrous existence, like the reincarnation of an immortal god. He is actually an in-name disciple of an immortal god. No wonder he has such terrifying strength and talent at such a young age in the real world. Elder Feng Jinqing sighed slightly. Stop spewing vulgarities. Let me ask you, why did you bully my martial nephew just now? Xiao Yu saw Feng Lingtian's shocked expression and reached out to grab his long braids. A gentleman speaks but doesn't make a move. Feng Lingtian shouted out in despair. I'm sorry, I'm a woman. Xiao Yu stared at him mockingly. I'm not an elder of the immortal sect, why would I care about so many things? Feng Lingtian looked at his long hair being held tightly and being pulled unconsciously, and helplessly began to shift the blame. This caused the surrounding elders of the immortal sect to twitch their brows violently. Cough cough, this matter is indeed our negligence. Elder Feng Jinqing's figure moved, landing beside Xiao Yu and cupping his hands at her. We will definitely handle this matter well. Miss, since your martial nephew has joined our immortal sect, it is also our honor. I'm not afraid of normal competition. I'm just afraid that you people will gang up on my martial nephew and bully outsiders. Xiao Yu was also very polite to Elder Feng Jinqing's gentleness. Don't worry, don't worry. Since this old man has promised, I will definitely not go back on my words. I also know that this disciple Xiao Ran will definitely be nurtured in the same way as the heaven-chosen disciples of the immortal sect in the future. There won't be any injustice. Elder Feng Jinqing promised. Then I'll have to trouble this old man. Xiao Yu smiled and felt a little embarrassed. It's fine, it's fine. This is the first time this young lady has come to our Yellow Heaven Immortal sect, right? Tomorrow I'll let this disciple bring you around and play here for 2 days. Elder Feng Jinqing said with a smile. Sure. Xiao Yu nodded. She had originally planned to stay here for 2 days. Tomorrow you'll bring me around here. Xiao Yu tugged at the long hair in her hands and said to Feng Lingtian with a smile. Aye. Feng Lingtian's eyes widened and his face turned red. However, just as he finished speaking, his head tilted and Xiao Yu's arms slowly wrapped around his long hair, forcing him to lower his head. Good, good, good. Great aunt, let go, let go. Feng Lingtian quickly said. That's more like it. In the future, I will tell you that I have some friends in your Yellow Heaven Immortal sect. In the future, help me take care of them. Don't worry, don't worry. Leave it to me. Leave everything to me. I will definitely not let them suffer any grievances. Before Xiao Yu could finish, Feng Lingtian immediately squeezed out a smile and promised. That's a good girl. Xiao Yu nodded her head in satisfaction. At this moment, her phone rang. My brother's video. Xiao Yu let go of Feng Lingtian's long hair and took out her phone to answer the call. Although holding the phone was a little out of place in an ancient city, this was the world today. 2 terrifying powerhouses might suddenly ring while they were fighting. You are my little Apple cell phone ringtone. Brother. Xiao Yu looked at the video and said with a smile. Are we there yet? Wang Xian was sitting in the villa and asked with a smile. We are here. We are now in Huangtian City. We have seen sect leader Tang, Xiao Ran, Xiao Clan and Sui Clan. Xiao Yu nodded and laughed. Oh right, brother, let me show you a person. Ah. As she spoke, she pointed the video at Feng Lingtian. It's him. He's the guy I taught a lesson to a year ago. Today, I beat him up again. When Feng Lingtian saw Wang Xian in the video, he forced a smile on his face and nodded respectfully. Hello, brother. Hello. After all, he knew that Wang Xian was an immortal god and was worthy of respect. All right. When did you have such a hobby? When will you be back? Wang Xian looked at his pathetic state and revealed a meaningful smile on his face. He couldn't help but smile. In 2 days I will be back after playing with the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect in Yellow Heaven City for 2 days. Alright, take care of your safety. Enjoy yourself. I still have some things to take care of. Alright, brother. Xiao Yu hung up the video call and realized that there were people standing on the rooftops in all directions. He felt a little embarrassed. Sorry to disturb everyone. Xiao Yu bowed to the surroundings, causing the people from Yellow Sky City to be slightly stunned. They quickly nodded their heads. Alright, we still have to eat. Tomorrow bring us around and I'll let you recognize us. Xiao Yu looked at Feng Lingtian and said to him. The corner of Feng Lingtian's mouth twitched and he clenched his fists tightly. He gritted his teeth and said, All right. If you dare not come, I'll beat you up every time I see you in the future. Xiao Yu raised his fist and waved at Elder Feng Jinqing before walking towards the restaurant. Feng Lingtian took a deep breath and looked up at the sky. He was really afraid that tears would flow out of his eyes. Fusike, how could there be such a witch? He could not beat her in a fight. In the past he could at least escape, but now he could not even escape. Everyone disperse. Feng Jinqing said to the thousands of people surrounding them. Disperse, disperse. Everyone looked at their crown prince with a strange expression and dispersed. Seeing their expressions, Feng Lingtian almost found a hole to hide in. This time, his crown prince had lost all his face. Feng Lingtian. Lingtian. In the surroundings, the proud sons of heaven who were with him earlier rushed over and shouted at him with a strange expression. Don't bother me. Feng Lingtian said impatiently. I will get someone to investigate today's matter. Feng Jinqing looked at the group of young men and women and said with a slightly sullen face. The group of young men were stunned for a moment before a trace of nervousness appeared on their faces. In their hearts, Elder Feng was not as amiable as before. On the contrary, he had always been very strict. Today's matter was caused by them and they were going to be punished. Ling Tian Jinqing, come over. Right at this moment, a voice suddenly rang out beside Feng Ling Tian and Feng Jinqing's ears. Their expressions changed slightly. It's father. It's sect leader. The two of them nodded their heads respectfully and flew towards the direction of the immortal sect. When the surrounding people heard Elder Feng and Feng Ling Tian, they knew that the sect leader had witnessed what had just happened. They just didn't know why their son didn't make a move after being beaten up. Chapter 722. Chapter 722, Dragon Gate Banquet 1. Father. Sect Master. Feng Ling Tian and Feng Jinqing quickly flew into the main hall of the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect. When they saw their green figures leaning against each other, they immediately shouted. Feng Ling Tian tightened his tattered clothes and felt slightly awkward. Hee. The middle-aged man slowly turned around and looked at his son. There was a teasing look in his eyes as he laughed. Father. Feng Ling Tian looked at his father's expression and his face turned red. He walked over and said, Father, lend me your limitless green fan tomorrow. What are you using it for? The middle-aged man continued to laugh as he looked at him. Father, it's not like you haven't seen it. Feng Ling Tian was slightly embarrassed and he gritted his teeth. That little witch, she actually embarrassed me in front of everyone. I will teach her a lesson tomorrow and let her know how powerful her little master is. All right, even if I give it to you, you're not her match. The middle-aged man looked at his son and said in amusement. He had never been willing to hit his son once, but he had been taught a lesson twice by a little girl. However, the middle-aged man did not mind. After all, he had been beaten up by a girl, and it was his own fault for not being good at learning. Moreover, being beaten up by a girl might not be a bad thing for his future, and it could also make this kid lower his profile. How could that be? Father, lend me your limitless green fan. I can teach her a good lesson and let her know how powerful I am. Feng Ling Tian clenched his fists tightly. His face was filled with the desire to take revenge. That girl already has the strength of a half-step immortal god. Even with the limitless green fan, you are still not her match. The middle-aged man shook his head. What? How is this possible? A year ago she was still at the infant stage. Feng Ling Tian immediately jumped up. However, when he thought about how easily he was beaten up today, his expression changed drastically. Furthermore, the middle-aged man raised his head slightly and looked ahead. With the energy emitted from her body, even 2 or 3 half-step immortal gods might not be her match. That girl should be stepping into the immortal god realm soon. What the F you say? No way she's about to step into the immortal realm. She looks even younger than me. Feng Ling Tian's scalp tingled and the corner of his mouth trembled. Doesn't that mean that I'll never be her match in the future, and I'll be tortured forever? The middle-aged man's expression gradually turned solemn. This girl is not simple, and the 10 subordinates beside her are not simple either. I also feel that there are a few experts who are good at hiding around her, guarding her. Gulp. Feng Ling Tian could not help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. Even Feng Jinqing, who was beside him, had a shocked expression on his face. That Dragon King is not simple. According to his past behavior, do not make an enemy out of him. The middle-aged man said faintly. Feng Jinqing nodded in agreement. Then doesn't that mean that I will really bring her here to play tomorrow? Feng Ling Tian's face was full of tears. Whenever he thought of her, he felt as though a whip was whipping him. He could not help but tremble. Hee. The middle-aged man laughed and his body slowly disappeared. Oh my God! Feng Ling Tian cried out in grief and indignation. The next morning, Feng Ling Tian could only grit his teeth and head to the restaurant where Xiaoyu was staying like a wronged little wife. He did not dare not to come. After knowing that she had such terrifying strength and was about to enter the immortal god realm, he had already changed from wanting to resist to fawning over the little devil, asking her not to beat him up in the future. In the end, the people of Yellow Sky City saw their crown prince standing next to a young girl with a smile like a little puppy, taking her to eat all kinds of delicacies. This caused everyone in Yellow Sky City to be astonished. However, when they thought of what happened last night, the expressions on everyone's faces were very interesting. Their crown prince had really become a little slave. And when Xiaoyu was touring the Yellow Sky Immortal Sect, a major incident happened in Jianghu City. This incident caught everyone in Jianghu City unprepared. Jianghu City was no longer the same Jianghu City as before. The aristocratic families in Jianghu City had also undergone some changes. After the appearance of the 9 cauldrons, all the martial artists in the Jianghu had basically joined the immortal sections. A large portion of them had joined the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect, but the weaker Yellow Heaven Immortal sect didn't take them in. Most of the families in Jianghu City were weaker and didn't have the qualifications to join the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect. Therefore, after the other immortal sects appeared, some joined the Ming King Immortal sect, some joined the Puppet Immortal sect, and some joined other immortal sections. After each cauldron appeared, after 4 to 5 months of conflict, they tacitly agreed that one cauldron occupied a territory. This caused Jianghu City to belong to the sphere of influence of the Yellow Cauldron. Those aristocratic families that joined other immortal sects directly moved to other cities. There were also warriors from other aristocratic families who had moved to Jianghu City because they had joined the Ming King Immortal sect and the Puppet Immortal sect. In short, the current Jianghu City was no longer the former Jianghu City. However, there were still many former Jianghu City worlds that were still in Jianghu City. This morning, an invitation was sent to all the aristocratic families. When they saw the words Dragon Gate Banquet, many warriors were shocked. Dragon Gate Banquet, the Dragon King is back. The Dragon King is back. The former king of Jianghu, the king of Jiangqing, is back. Everyone was stunned as they looked at the invitation in their hands. They were all former Jianghu warriors. They had witnessed the rise and hegemony of the Dragon Gate and witnessed the domineering and invincible Dragon King. What is the Dragon King doing inviting the aristocratic families and warriors of Jiangqing, announcing his return and declaring the sovereignty of Jiangqing? The Dragon King is back. Get people to prepare immediately. Let's go on time today. The former king is back. This is the world of the Ming King Immortal sect and the Puppet Immortal sect now. What does this Dragon King want to do? Does he want to compete with the Ming King Immortal sect and the Puppet Immortal sect? This is simply wishful thinking. The former king is, after all, the former king. He has become a thing of the past. What more does this Dragon King want to do? I have to admit that the former Dragon King of the Dragon Gate once suppressed the entire Jianghu until they couldn't breathe. But now, it's too far away from the immortal sect. The eyes of the warriors of the aristocratic families who received the invitations were shining. In the world where the immortal sect was now the king, there were probably not many who could recognize the former Dragon King of the Dragon Gate. There were even many warriors who disdained him. At this moment, in the temporary base of the Puppet Immortal sect, Jianghu City, about 10 disciples of the Puppet Immortal sect stood in a room with despair on their faces. Around them, several elders sat there with gloomy expressions on their faces. In their territory, someone actually dared to cripple their 10 disciples. They deserved to die. Chapter 723. Chapter 723, Dragon Gate Banquet 2, 1/20. Do we know who did it? In the main seat of the room, an old man sat there with a sullen face and said with a sullen face, Deacon Zhang, we have found out. The one who did it was the doctor from the Divine Dragon Medical Center. He is known as the Red God Doctor. He is at the dance stage. However, according to the information we have, the person behind this Red God Doctor is someone called Wuxia. He is the Dragon King of the Dragon Gate, the strongest force in the Jianghu. A middle-aged man sitting next to him said as he took out an invitation card. Coincidentally, I received a piece of news today. The middle-aged man handed the invitation card over. This was given to me by a martial artist who joined the Puppet Immortal sect. Dragon Gate Banquet. The old man took the invitation card and his eyes flickered. That's right, Dragon Gate Banquet. I have investigated this Dragon Gate today and found out that this force is not simple. The middle-aged man said in a deep voice. Not simple. The old man raised his head and looked at the middle-aged man. Yes, this Dragon Gate used to be the most powerful force in the martial world. At the same time, it was also the king of Jianghu City. The Dragon King of Dragon Gate was at least at the infant realm or even stronger. Moreover, there were at least 10 infant realm experts in Dragon Gate. The middle-aged man said. More than 10 infant realm experts. The old man revealed a surprised expression and automatically ignored the words, even stronger. Then, his eyes turned cold. No wonder they dared to cripple the disciples of our Puppet Immortal sect. This Dragon Gate is really audacious. The Dragon Gate Banquet is interesting. The old man's eyes turned cold as he slammed the invitation card heavily on the table. I think this is the farewell banquet. The middle-aged man frowned. Deacon, should we report this matter to the Immortal Sect? After all, the strength of this dragon sect is not to be underestimated. There's no need for that for now. Today we'll go over and ask them to give us an explanation. If this dragon sect doesn't know what's good for them, we'll report it to the Immortal Sect and destroy it. This is a deacon. The middle-aged man still wanted to ask if there was any danger. After all, they were a faction in Jianghu in the past and couldn't be compared to the Immortal Sect at all. As long as this dragon gate didn't seek death, they definitely wouldn't dare to attack them. A faction without immortals and gods would be destroyed in the end. At this moment on the Jianghu network within the Shunding region's page, a few posts were trending in the forum. One was about Mu Zidao and Ming Feng. Jianghu website was the largest website in China, and ordinary people knew about this forum. What happened at the school gate yesterday was known by all the students of Jiangqing University. Someone had brought this matter to Jianghu website. There weren't many words, only photos. Mu Zidao and Ming Feng were wearing torn clothes as they stood in front of an RV. A dog was squatting there staring at them. The two of them were in an exceptionally sorry state. The clothes on their bodies couldn't cover their bodies at all. What shocked everyone even more was that the two of them were repairing cars. That's right, they were repairing cars. Mu Zidao and Ming Feng were both elite disciples of the Ming Wang Immortal Sect. They could definitely be ranked in the top 10 among the younger generation in the Immortal Sect. However, the two dazzling disciples of the Immortal Sect were actually repairing the car in such a sorry state. This was obviously abnormal. At the same time, it also caused all the martial artists in the Shunding region to be dumbstruck. What's going on? Mu Zidao and Ming Feng are both very powerful. How did they end up in such a state? Oh my god, what's going on? Everyone was shocked as they replied below. In just a few short hours, it had become the hottest topic in the Shunding region. However, someone who knew about it quickly revealed the cause and effect. This immediately caused an uproar in everyone in the Shunding region. An infant stage dog. Jianghu City University's famous figure, Wang Xian, Dragon King of the Dragon Gate. Following that, there was a post that attracted everyone's attention this morning. Dragon Gate Banquet. The Jianghu faction, Dragon King of Dragon Gate, would hold a Dragon Gate banquet at Xianyang Hotel and invite all the martial artists from the aristocratic families in Jianghu City. This post was related to Mu Zidao's and Ming Feng's posts. The originator was the same person. Dragon King of Dragon Gate. I didn't expect there to be such a faction in Jianghu, and it's even within the territory of our Shunding. In the Ming Wang Immortal Sect, a dozen or so young men and women were sitting on a mountain platform that was emitting a faint light. A thin and weak young man holding a white scepter raised his head indifferently and glanced at the two gloomy-looking young men sitting beside him. Does our Immortal Sect elder have any orders? A girl was holding a cell phone and taking beautiful pictures as she asked with a smile on her face. Do you think the Immortal Sect will do anything about this? The disciples of the Immortal Sect are humiliated after provoking others, and the Immortal Sect will avenge them? The thin and weak young man said mockingly. After all, there are about 10 infant realm cultivators. Maybe the Dragon King is a half-step immortal god powerhouse. This force is not weak. The girl continued. Tonight, my father is attending a banquet. That guy dares to humiliate us because he has an idea. He wants to join our Ming Wang Immortal Sect. In this way he will attract our Immortal Sect's attention, investigate his background, and then invite them to join the Immortal Sect. This way he can get better benefits. Obviously Feng's face was gloomy and his eyes flickered. However, he picked the wrong person. He can join, but he has to pay a price. They are a very powerful force and are very useful to our Immortal Sect. But you guys are really unlucky. At most, you can only discuss the other party. In the future, your status might not be lower than ours. The thin and weak young man laughed. The Dragon King of the Dragon Gate dared to humiliate Mu Zidao and Xian Feng. Clearly, in their eyes he had only one goal, which was to attract the attention of the Immortal Sect and invite them into the Immortal Sect. That was because if the Dragon King of the Dragon Gate deliberately wanted to humiliate Mu Zidao and Xian Feng, he was obviously courting death. A powerful force that once belonged to the Jianghu was obviously not so stupid. I'll go and see the Dragon King of the Dragon Gate tonight. Which one of you is interested in going? The thin and weak young man stood up with a smile on his face and said casually. I'll go. I'll go and take a look too, hee hee. The young men stood up with smiles on their faces. If Wang Xian knew about the thoughts of the Ming Wang immortal sect and thought that he wanted to attract the attention of the immortal sect, he didn't know if he would think that they were too narcissistic. However, from the perspective of the immortal sect, this was the only plausible explanation. An ant ran onto the body of an elephant. The elephant wouldn't think that the ant was here to provoke it. It just thinks the ant is lost. Because ants don't deliberately seek death. In their opinion, that's what Dragon King means. Chapter 724. Chapter 724, Dragon King Banquet 3, 2/20. Dragon King, we have received news that the floating island was taken away by the celestial sect of puppets. In Jianghu City University, Wang Xian walked towards the first-grade pavilion after school at noon. Beside him, Mo Qinglong reported to him. Okay, I'll go and get it back tomorrow. Wang Xian nodded. He went to the shop and looked around. The first-grade pavilion was no longer open for business today. As for Manager Huang, he had handed him over to Elder Qin to handle. As for ordinary people, he had to go through legal means. With the conclusive evidence, one could imagine the consequences. In addition, the employees of the first-grade pavilion were all sent back after giving them a sum of money. Wang Xian got Devil Azure Dragon to start modifying the first-grade pavilion and turning it into the Divine Dragon Smelting Workshop. Dragon King, this is the information of all the martial artists from the aristocratic families in the martial arts world. In the afternoon, Mo Qinglong handed over another set of information. Wang Xian sized it up. Okay, call all the dragon men. Ao Jian, Ao Yao, and the rest of them will come as well. Wang Xian looked at the time and headed towards the Xianyang Hotel in advance. The entire hotel had been cleared out today. When he arrived, Elder Qin and Elder Shui were waiting at the door. Little brother Wang Xian, please come in. The two of them welcomed Wang Xian in with smiles on their faces. The three of them headed upstairs. Things have changed, but people have changed. The three of them sat in front of a table and sighed slightly. Back then, Wang Xian and Elder Qin and Elder Shui had formed an alliance. Now, nearly 2 years had passed and everything had undergone a huge change. Little brother Wang Xian, your return will definitely stir up a storm. Old Shui said to Wang Xian with a smile on his face. The Sea of Jianghu is much bigger and much deeper. Old Shui and Old Qin, are you sure that I can stir it up? Wang Xian was full of smiles as he spoke to them with a deeper meaning in his words. In our opinion, there is no sea that the Dragon King cannot stir up. Come, come, welcome the Dragon King back to the sea. Old Qin and Old Shui laughed out loud as they raised the wine glasses in their hands. Hee hee. Wang Xian understood what they meant and felt a little relieved. It seemed that there were still people who believed in him in Jianghu City. It has been more than a year and many things have changed. Little brother Wang Xian, you must be mentally prepared for today's banquet. Elder Qin said to Wang Xian slowly. Don't worry. I want to see how much Jianghu City has changed. Wang Xian smiled nonchalantly. Time passed slowly. Now that Elder Shui and his son and grandson had joined the Ming Wang immortal sect, Elder Shui came over to express his stance. Wang Xian also knew that the world had changed. The martial artists of the aristocratic families in Jianghu City belonged to the Ming Wang immortal sect and the Puppet immortal sect. It was obviously impossible for them to betray the immortal sect and submit to him with a wave of his hand. The reason why Wang Xian set up the Dragon Gate banquet today was not because he wanted everyone in Jianghu City to regard him as their king. Instead, he wanted to announce that he was back. No matter whose territory Jianghu City was in the future, do not provoke me. Wang Xian did not have any intention of contending for hegemony in the martial arts world. His territory was the sea. As long as he developed the sea well, he did not place much importance on a piece of land. He was a little annoyed to see people from the Mingwang immortal sect and the Puppet immortal sect jumping around in front of him one after another. Although they were just ants, it was annoying to have too many ants. Today was a rather lively day for the entire Jianghu City. The Dragon King banquet. The Dragon King was back. At the Xianyang Hotel, luxurious cars were parked at the entrance at about 7 o'clock in the evening. A warrior with a high status in Jianghu City walked into the Xianyang Hotel. He walked into the hall, looked around at some familiar people, greeted each other and then surrounded them. I didn't expect the Dragon King to come back after more than a year. Dragon Gate Banquet. I don't know what this Dragon King is going to do. Now we have all joined the Immortal Sect. Who knows? He is hosting a banquet for all the martial artists in Jianghu City. I wonder what kind of lawsuit the Dragon King is trying to sell. I heard yesterday that the Dragon King humiliated Mu Zidao and Ming Feng of our Immortal Sect. They are core disciples of the Immortal Sect. This Dragon King is as fearless as ever. The Dragon Sect is also a powerful force. Although it is not an immortal sect, it is not something we can provoke. Let's just watch today. I say that the Dragon King provoked the core disciples of the Ming Wang Immortal Gate as soon as he returned to Jianghu City. He's obviously looking for trouble. Things are different now. This Dragon King is too arrogant. Some warriors whispered to each other as they rode the stairs and headed upstairs. The world had changed. The Dragon King, who had once made everyone in the Jianghu submit to him, had completely lost his reverence with the appearance of the Immortal Gate. Some people even mocked the Dragon King, while some people's eyes sparkled and were filled with coldness. In the Jianghu, there had been many warriors who hated the Dragon King for chasing them out of the spiritual waterfall. A group of people walked inside. The warriors from the aristocratic families who were familiar with each other gathered together with the warriors from the Gate of Immortality and came to the banquet hall. Tables and chairs were placed in the hall. The warriors from the aristocratic families of Jianghu City looked around and found that the members of the Dragon Gate and the Dragon King had not arrived. They found a seat and sat down. At 7:30, all the warriors of Jianghu City had arrived, and the hall was almost full. At first they sat there in silence and waited, but as time passed some people began to talk in low voices. At 8 o'clock, the members of the Dragon Gate and the Dragon King still had not appeared. This made some people look impatient. Where's the Dragon King? He asked us to come at 7:30. It's already 8 o'clock. Why isn't he here yet? Yeah, we've been waiting here for half an hour. Why isn't he here yet? The two middle-aged men frowned and said in a deep voice. His voice was not soft, so everyone could hear him clearly. Are you deliberately ignoring us? It's been half an hour and you still haven't come over. We are not the subordinates of the Dragon Gate, and we are not the Dragon King's world now. A middle-aged man suddenly stood up and said loudly. If you still don't come out, we will leave. Do you want to put on airs or show us your might? The Dragon King and the Dragon Gate are quite powerful, but no matter how powerful they are, they can't control us. We came here today to give him face and really take ourselves seriously. An old man gently patted the table. That's right. If he doesn't come soon, we'll leave. The Immortal Sect still has a mission to deal with. A fat middle-aged man said with a smile. Although their strength was only at the Xiantian realm, they were really not afraid of the Dragon King of the Dragon Gate now. With the Immortal Sect behind them, what could the Dragon King do to them? Some of the other martial artists also showed a hint of impatience in their eyes. Sorry I'm late. At this moment, Wang Xian, who had been in another room, came to the entrance of the banquet hall. Behind him were a group of Dragon Gate disciples. Chapter 725. Chapter 725, Dragon King Banquet 4, 3/20. Sorry I'm late. As the voice rang out, Wang Xian walked towards the banquet hall with a smile on his face. At this moment, Wang Xian had a warm smile on his face. After advancing to celestial being, his aura was completely restrained. In the past, there was a domineering and majestic aura coming from him. There was even a hint of murderous aura coming from him. Now he looked like an ordinary person. Upon hearing Wang Xian's voice, everyone was slightly stunned. They looked towards the entrance in astonishment. When they saw Wang Xian walking in wearing casual clothes with a smile on his face, a hint of astonishment appeared in the eyes of the martial artists of River City. The Dragon King's aura has changed. He is no longer as lofty and domineering as before. He doesn't put the world in his eyes anymore. That's because the Dragon King in the past was unrivaled in Jianghu. But now he's not stupid. He knows how to control himself. If the Dragon King still dares to be as arrogant as before, he will probably be killed by the Immortal Sect. Some of the martial artists saw Wang Xian's genial expression and relaxed the tension in their eyes. A faint smile appeared on their faces. It's fine. We're just nagging. The celestial sect still has some matters to settle, so... The fat middle-aged man was still standing there with a smile on his face as he spoke to Wang Xian cheerfully. Congratulations on the Dragon King's return. May I know why the Dragon King invited us to a banquet? The old man who was slapping the table took a sip of his wine and asked Wang Xian. The other 400 to 500 martial artists looked at Wang Xian with a hint of curiosity in their eyes. It's nothing. I just wanted to let everyone know that I'm back. Wang Xian walked to the front of the banquet and turned his head slowly. Hee. As soon as he finished his sentence, the fat middle-aged man and a few middle-aged men smirked. The rest of the martial artists from Jianghu City looked at Wang Xian indifferently and didn't say a word. Wang Xian wasn't too surprised when he saw this scene. I'm inviting everyone to a banquet today. The main point is to let everyone know that in Jianghu City, it's fine as long as you don't disturb me. I don't want to be troubled by some trivial matters. As he spoke, he raised a glass of red wine in front of the table lightly and gestured to everyone. All the warriors realized that the Dragon King of Dragon Gate, who was standing in front of them, had become much weaker. He was no longer as domineering as before. This made everyone guess that the Dragon King of Dragon Gate was afraid of the immortal sect. Some warriors immediately raised their wine glasses, while others did not move. With their backs against the immortal sect, they could ignore the Dragon King. Dragon King, we will naturally not trouble you. However, this is the territory of the Mingwang Immortal Sect and the Puppet Immortal Sect. We are disciples of the Immortal Sect. We will listen to the orders of the Immortal Sect. A middle-aged man raised his wine cup and said to Wang Xian with a smile. Oh. Wang Xian nodded his head. A draconid behind him moved. Bang, 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 bang. In an instant, violent sounds were heard. Among the people present, the strongest one was only at the dance stage. No one could see the figure of the draconid clearly. Crash. Under everyone's stunned gaze, the middle-aged man who raised his wine cup flew out. He smashed through the glass of the hotel and spat out a mouthful of blood. His dantian was crippled and he flew down from the 15th floor. Everyone in the banquet hall was stunned. Following that, a look of horror appeared on their faces. Impudent! How dare you attack a disciple of the Mingwang Immortal Sect? Dragon King you! The fat middle-aged man's expression changed drastically. He pointed at Wang Xian and looked embarrassed. Crack, crack. You guys actually crippled my dantian? My daughter married an elite disciple of the Immortal Sect. You guys. Before the fat middle-aged man could finish his words, he felt his body suffer a terrifying attack. His dantian was directly shattered and large mouthfuls of blood sprayed out. His body also broke through the glass and fell down. With their physiques they would not die, but in the future their path of martial arts would also be cut off. Another person flew out. Everyone's faces changed greatly, and they looked at the young man standing in front with a smile on his face. He hasn't changed. He still hasn't changed. Everyone in the banquet hall trembled slightly and their foreheads were covered in cold sweat. The Dragon King was not afraid of their identity as disciples of the Immortal Sect. Those warriors who did not pick up their wine glasses shook their arms and quickly picked up the red wine in front of them. They looked at Wang Xian in shock. The entire banquet hall fell silent in an instant. Only the sound of heavy breathing could be heard. They were shocked. The Dragon King actually disregarded their status as disciples of the Immortal Sect and directly crippled the two of them. Wang Xian raised his wine cup and gestured, "You don't have any objections, right?" This time, all the martial artists in Jianghu City hurriedly drank all the wine in their wine cups. No. How would we dare to provoke you, Dragon King? An old man said hurriedly. That's right. In the future in Jianghu City, Dragon King, if you have any instructions, just tell us directly. Another middle-aged man followed suit. The current Dragon King with a smile was exactly the same as before. He was still so unbridled. Interesting. He came uninvited. At this moment, Wang Xian turned his head and looked outside. Warriors wearing thick metal clothes flew over directly. Apart from a metal object, there was also something that was flying in the sky like a sailboat. There were 10 young men sitting on the sailboat. Boom! The group broke through the glass and entered the banquet hall. At the same time, figures emitting pure white light flew towards them in the dark night. There were a total of 7 figures flying towards them at a terrifying speed. A middle-aged man with white hair. His white hair was not white. It was emitting a faint light. Other than the middle-aged man, the rest of them were all young men. One of them was a girl. The old man who was wearing the dark golden puppet armor bowed to the middle-aged man with white hair. Then he turned around and looked around. What? Do you guys still have to follow his orders in the future? The old man in the dark golden puppet armor clearly heard the voices here. His gaze swept across the warriors from the aristocratic families in Jianghu City. Beside him, the 7 people who were emitting a faint light energy swept their gaze across the surroundings. Finally, their gaze landed on Wuxia. 2 of the young men's eyes were filled with killing intent. Deacon Jianghu, it can't be. We were forced by him too. The expressions of the warriors from the immortal puppet sect changed slightly as they hurriedly spoke to the old man. They heaved a sigh of relief when the deacon from the immortal sect arrived. Elder Ming. When the other group of martial artists from the Ming Wang immortal sect saw the white-haired middle-aged man, a hint of shock flashed across their eyes as they hurriedly spoke respectfully. Yes. The middle-aged man nodded his head coldly as he stared at Wuxia. Dragon King of the Dragon Gate? Do you know what this place is? You called us disciples of the immortal sect over and even dared to cripple us disciples of the puppet immortal sect. Now give us an explanation. Deacon Jianghu stared at Wuxia and said slowly. Chapter 726. Chapter 726, Dragon King Banquet 5, 4/20. After Deacon Jianghu finished his words, the 10 young men standing beside him stared at Wuxia with hatred in their eyes. Their eyes were filled with killing intent. These 10 young men made the 7 white-haired middle-aged men beside them slightly curious. They turned their heads and looked over. Their eyes were filled with astonishment. Crippled? Those 10 disciples of the puppet immortal sect were actually crippled. Hee, these 10 disciples of your puppet immortal sect are causing trouble in my restaurant. If I don't cripple him, who else would I cripple? Wuxia swept his gaze across the group and said faintly. Hee. When Deacon Jianghu heard Wuxia's words, a hint of coldness flashed across his eyes. He said coldly, Then do you know that they are disciples of our puppet immortal sect? How dare they cripple our disciples in our territory? I think you are courting death. So what if they are crippled? So what? A hint of disdain flashed across Wuxia's eyes as he looked at the old man calmly. Deacon Jianghu, just now one of our disciples was crippled by him and thrown out of the window. There was also another disciple from the Ming Wang immortal sect. A middle-aged man walked to the side of the old man. He swept his gaze across Wuxia and a hint of hatred flashed across his eyes. That's right, Elder Ming. One of our disciples was thrown out. We have no other choice. Please stand up for us. An old man who had joined the Mingwang immortal sect immediately came to the front of the white-haired middle-aged man and spoke with a face full of anger. That's right. Before the emergence of the immortal sect, he had already suppressed the entire Jianghu. We dare not speak out in anger. Now he wants us to submit to him. Please, Elder Ming, stand up for us. Please help us make a decision, Deacon Jianghu. Instantly, dozens of martial artists from Jianghu City rushed to Deacon Jianghu and Elder Ming's side and shouted loudly. Damn this fellow. He dares to act arrogantly in our territory. Father, we should destroy them. When Ming Feng heard the words of the martial artists, his eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared at Wuxia. In my opinion, there's no need for them to exist anymore. When Executive Jianghu saw the contemptuous look on Wuxia's face, his eyes were filled with killing intent as well. Kid, don't be too arrogant. The white-haired middle-aged man took 2 steps forward and said, Let's not talk about other things for now. He pointed at Ming Feng and said, He is my son. The matter of you insulting my son is a little too much. Ming Feng raised his head slightly and walked towards Wuxia slowly. He stared at him angrily. Mu Zidao and a few other young men and women also walked towards Wuxia slowly. It is a little too much. You can teach an ordinary disciple of our immortal sect a lesson. However, a core disciple has crossed the line. The skinny young man crossed his arms and sized up Wuxia and the group of draconids behind him. He looked down on them. So this is the Dragon King. He's quite handsome, hee. The girl beside the skinny young man was holding a cell phone in her hand. She looked at him with a smile and said, It wouldn't be bad if you join our Mingwang immortal sect. Kneel down and apologize immediately until we accept it. Otherwise, this matter won't end so easily. Mu Zidao and the rest walked 2 meters in front of Wang Xian. They pointed at him and said coldly. Wang Xian was slightly speechless when he heard their words. He sneered and said, "Join your immortal sect." The surrounding warriors of Jianghu City were slightly stunned when they heard Mu Zidao and the rest's words. Following that, they exchanged glances with each other. The Dragon King of the Dragon Gate provoked the disciples of the Ming Wang Immortal Sect in order to attract the attention of the Immortal Sect. The Dragon King held this Dragon Gate banquet in order to attract the attention of the Immortal Sect. He wants to join the Immortal Sect. The warriors of Jianghu City looked at each other and were basically certain in their hearts. By attracting the attention of the two Immortal Sects, the Mingwang Immortal Sect and the Puppet Immortal Sect would discover the strength of the Dragon Gate and then invite the Dragon Gate to join them. There was a difference between actively applying to join and being invited to join. The latter could obtain greater benefits. I didn't expect the Dragon King of the Dragon Gate to actually want to join the Immortal Sect through this method. No wonder he dared to cripple the disciples of the Immortal Sect. This is because the value of the Dragon Gate far exceeds them. The Immortal Sect wouldn't blame the Dragon King for this. Some of the martial artists from Jianghu City looked a little embarrassed. They didn't expect the Dragon Gate banquet to have such a meaning. Now, immediately kneel down and apologize to me. Everything can be settled after the apology. Otherwise. Obviously, Feng also pointed at Wang Xian and said coldly. A few young men at the side looked at him with smiles on their faces. The corners of their lips curled up slightly. Kneel down and apologize. How interesting. How narcissistic. Wang Xian glanced at the white-haired young men who were standing at the side with their hands behind their backs with a smile on his face. There were 6 young men surrounding him. The reason why I'm holding this banquet today is to tell all of you that the Dragon King of the Dragon Gate is back. The smile on Wang Xian's face slowly disappeared. He said in a calm tone, also in Jianghu City, no one is allowed to provoke me and no one is allowed to disturb me. Violators. Die. When Wang Xian finished his words, the atmosphere in the banquet hall changed instantly. The air was filled with murderous intent instantly. The members of the Dragon Gate behind Wang Xian instantly attacked the 6 young men of the Mingwang Immortal Sect. The sudden explosion caught the 6 of them off guard. PFFF, 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 PFFF. Bang, bang. The sound of 4 daggers piercing and 2 terrifying sounds of collision could be heard. Everyone was completely stunned as they watched this scene in horror. The 4 core disciples of the Mingwang Immortal Sect were directly pierced through by the daggers. The other 2 skinny young men and girls, whose strength had reached the infant stage, managed to avoid the disaster. However, both of them were severely injured. Ming Feng, who was pointing at Wang Xian, froze. His arrogant face was filled with fear. He lowered his head and looked at his chest. He was in disbelief and despair. You! How dare you! Ming Feng's face was distorted. The 3 young men beside him were filled with despair and disbelief. They actually dared to kill him. I want you to die. On the side, the white-haired middle-aged man who had been watching coldly from above, saw his son and the core disciples of the Immortal Sect being stabbed directly through their bodies, and his face changed dramatically. He roared loudly and his hair stood on end, and a dazzling white light filled the entire banquet hall. All the warriors of the Jianghu City world and the surroundings were horrified and their bodies trembled. What the hell was going on? The Dragon King was not going to join the Immortal Sect, but he was going to warn everyone today, including the members of the Immortal Sect. What would happen if you provoked me? Poochie. At this moment, a piercing sound was heard. Everyone quickly turned their heads and looked over with widened eyes in shock. A white shadow appeared behind Elder Ming, and the shadow's arm directly pierced through Elder Ming's chest. Around him, the dazzling white light quickly dimmed, and the white shadow behind him disappeared. Elder Ming widened his eyes and looked down at his chest. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.